Chapter 2630. Take you home, the androgynous voice has a hint of joy and excitement. Devour, devour her. Quick, quick. Mu Yin raises her eyes, raises her hand, and withdraws the 7 absolute swords. Without the 7 absolute swords obstruction, the ghostly face, wrapped in cold resentment, whizzes over. A bloody mouth slowly opens, wanting to swallow Mu Yin whole. Mu Yin sneers, and her 10 fingers suddenly pluck on the Tian and Mo Qin. Swish! A dazzling light rushes up into the air. Countless rune lines converge from all directions, and finally converge into an invisible arrayed disk in the air. The stirring music is like a tsunami, and like 10,000 horses galloping, swallowing the mountains and rivers. The primordial world gives birth to all things, and the sky is filled with stars. The great heavenly star formation is complete. The sky shakes, the earth shakes, and the mountains and rivers change color. The runes that make up the myriad cave formation collapse inch by inch. Ghostly face, kill her. Self-detonation. Primordial spirit, self-detonation. Kill her, for me. Kill. Kill. The androgynous voice finally panics, roaring incessantly, telling the ghostly face to rush over and kill Mu Yin at all costs. The runes binding the ghostly face decrease, and the ghostly face's movements become sluggish. The faces of the thousands of women show a painful struggle. Mu Yin throws out the arrayed disc in her hand, and the 7 absolute swords draw an arc in the air. She says in a clear voice, "Thousands of wronged souls, listen to me. The myriad cave formation that traps you is about to break. If you still want freedom, want to be free, want the chance to reincarnate, then break free from its shackles. I'll take you home. Take you home. Go home. Go home. Go home." The girl's slightly hoarse voice resounds in the sky over and over again. It's like an oath, but also like a spell that is 1,000 years late, unlocking the cage that has shackled them for thousands of years. No, 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 no. The androgynous voice roars hoarsely. However, none of the wrong souls are willing to listen to his orders. Pairs of numb eyes focused on him one after another. One lost soul after another finds themselves. Under the light of the great all-side star formation, the condensed ghost face gradually collapsed and dissipated. This was Mu Yan's final blow to the myriad deep caves formation and Fusang City with these poor women. All the animals that are worse than pigs and dogs, go to hell. Go to hell. In the depths of Phoenix Heaven Mountain Range, Luo Yunxiao and Qi Wan, who were searching for something in an ancient ruin, stopped at the same time and raised their heads to look at the sky. "Master, I think I can sense the aura of the 1,000 deep cave formation. I'm not dreaming, right? Shouldn't the myriad deep cave formation be on the floating island?" Although it and its master had searched the floating island for a long time, they couldn't find any information about the myriad deep cave formation. But it shouldn't be in the cultivation continent. Could it be that it was too eager to help its master find those things and find a chance of survival, to the extent that he was hallucinating? But soon, Luo Yunxiao's slightly hoarse voice rang in its ears. "It is indeed the myriad deep cave formation. No, it's not just the myriad deep cave formation. There seems to be the aura of the great all-side star formation as well, but it was too weak. It disappeared in a flash and couldn't be captured. Chiwen was stunned at first, but then she was overjoyed. Master, this is great, this is great. Yin and Yang dual heart, 12 evils, 36 stars. Chapter 2631. The Emperor wants to be the mistress? 1. Master, that's great, that's great. Yin and Yang dual heart, 12 evils, 36 stars. Now that we have the myriad cave formation, we've gathered 1/3 of the 12 evils. Master, you're one step closer to your goal, Chiwen said excitedly as she suddenly enlarged her body and soared into the sky. Master, hurry! That's the myriad cave formation. If it's discovered, someone will definitely try to snatch it. We have to make the first move. Luo Yunxiao was startled. She stepped onto the flying sword under Qi, winds urging, and flew towards the direction of the myriad cave formation. Was it an illusion? That seemed to be the direction of Mu Yan's aura. Xiaoxin continent, polar domain. Little master, please have a meal. Xiao Bao opened his eyes and came out of his meditation. Defying armies was holding a sumptuous meal in his hands and respectfully brought it to him. These dishes contained abundant immortal energy and almost no impurities, yet they were extremely delicious. In order to let Xiao Bao cultivate better, Di Mingju even asked Elder Chong to personally ask the King of Medicine to add immortal medicine that was beneficial to the cultivation of the immortal body. It could be said that these dishes could be sold at a sky-high price, even in the Xiaoxin continent. However, after Xiao Bao took the dishes, he didn't even take a bite. A fluffy snow-white rabbit and a long sword flew over and couldn't wait to pounce on the dishes. Awoo! Buzz, buzz, buzz. In a split second, as if a typhoon had passed through, the sumptuous and delicious dishes disappeared without a trace. The fat rabbit held its round belly with its short legs and burped. It snuggled next to Xiao Bao and snored away. The evil warding sword buzzed and trembled, and a stomping sound came into Xiao Bao's ears. Damn it, fortunately I got it fast this time. Otherwise, the damn rabbit would have taken it all. What a delicacy. Xiao Bao gently squeezed the hilt of the evil warding sword and stroked the fat rabbit's smooth fur. Then he handed the empty plate back to Defying armies. Uncle Defying armies. This was the first time Defying armies saw these two ferocious fellows. He was shocked when they snatched the little master's food. However, he was already used to it. Little master was indeed little master. Even his spiritual pet and sword were so different. Defying armies took out a few more dishes from a space ring and brought them to Xiao Bao. Little master, please enjoy. Xiao Bao blinked his big blue eyes and sniffed lightly with his little nose. His stomach growled. He lowered his eyes in embarrassment. Although his little face was still tense, his ears had quietly turned red. He took the tray and said softly, "Thank you, Uncle Pajuan." Even Defying armies, who had a heart of stone and no love, looked at this delicate and obedient little doll. Looking at those eyes that are similar to Di Mingju's, he can't help but feel ripples in his heart. He really wished that he could give the best of everything in the world to his little master. When Xiao Bao ate, he ate very quickly, but his manners were excellent. His back was straight, and he didn't make a single sound. That appearance caused Defying armies to be in a daze. It was as if he had seen the child from many, many years ago, who was only in his twilight years, but could no longer conceal his beauty. Finally, Defying armies couldn't help but open his mouth. "Little master, how much do you know about your biological father?" Xiao Bao put down his bowl and chopsticks. He raised his head to look at Defying armies, a trace of bewilderment in his eyes. After a long while, he gently shook his head. Xiao Bao had never seen him. Chapter 2632. D. June wants to forcefully seize and become a third party? 2. What about Miss June? Didn't she mention it to you? Xiao Bao slightly tilts his head. Niangqin doesn't mention it. Niangqin doesn't like that person. He looks straight into Defying armies' eyes and says in a methodical manner, "Niangqin only likes daddy, and Xiao Bao also only likes daddy, not biological father." Defying armies is about to be warmed by his chilly, and adorable voice. In his heart, he only feels that Jun Shang is so lucky to be able to meet the destined one. But there are still some things in Defying armies' heart, some things that only he knows in this world. Jun Shang also likes the little master and Miss June the most. Little master, have you ever thought if your biological father is... Defying armies hasn't finished his words. Han Ye's noisy voice comes from behind. Defying armies, are you courting death? Mentioning Xiao Bao's biological father again. If Jun Shang hears this, he'll punish you to go to purgatory for a month. Hee. At that time, you'll be my companion. Defying armies expressionlessly looks at Han Ye. Han Ye goes in front of the two and kneels down on one knee towards Xiao Bao. "Greetings, little master." After paying his respects, he pulls Defying armies, lowering his voice. Defeating armies, I know what you're worried about. But you can rest assured, I've already inquired about it when we were in the Yenwu continent. The little master's biological father had already passed away when he was just born. Defeating armies, even if Miss June loved that short-lived ghost before, things have changed with the passage of time. More than 10 years have passed, and Miss June no longer has that short-lived ghost in her heart. What's more, with our June Shang's character, how could that short-lived ghost be mentioned in the same breath? Defeating armies. Han Yi sees that defeating armies isn't speaking, smacking his lips and sighing. Fortunately, the little master's biological father died early. Otherwise, if our June Shang had taken a fancy to Miss June, wouldn't there be only two paths for him to take? Either forcefully snatch and become a third party, or be overwhelmed with sorrow and grow old alone. Think about it. It's miserable, too miserable. Han Ye's voice abruptly stops. That's because he finds that defeating armies' expression has changed, his line of sight also burning anxiously not far ahead. A bad premonition suddenly surged in his heart. Shakily turning his head, he saw a handsome and peerless man standing quietly in front of the teleportation formation, looking at him coldly. Han Yi shudders from head to toe, and with a thud, he kneels to the ground. Son greets June Shang. Did June Shang hear what he just said? Didn't you hear me? He definitely didn't hear it. Ben June wants to forcefully seize and become a third party? The man's voice was deep and magnetic. It was so pleasant that it could intoxicate people. But in Han Ye's ears, it's like a bolt from the blue, almost striking him silly. This monarch is going to be overwhelmed with sorrow and die alone. With a sullen face, Han Yi lifts his head, then his whole body suddenly prostrates on the ground, prostrating himself on all fours. June Shang, this lowly one knows his mistake. June Shang, spare my life. This is all Pujun's fault. He mentioned Xiao Bao's biological father out of nowhere. Diming Ju turns his gaze towards defeating armies. Defeating armies felt his scalp go numb and a chill run down his spine. Bending one knee, he knelt on the ground. This subordinate has spoken too much. Lord, please punish me. Diming Ju knits his brows, just as he's about to speak. Xiao Bao has already run in front of him, stretching out his small hands to hug his thighs. He lifts his head up, daddy hug. This little person is usually like a little adult, serious in speech and manner, with a straight face, never acting like a spoiled child. But only when he's facing Mayan, the person he's closest to, would he reveal the appearance of a child. And now he's added to the mix. Chapter 26:33. Di Jun wants to be a mistress by force. 3. Asking for votes. The little jealousy and anger in Di Ming Ju's heart also dissipates under the flickering eyelashes and sparkling blue eyes of the little baby. He bends down to pick him up. Xiao Bao immediately hugs his neck. Before Di Ming Ju can speak, the little boy sticks to his ear and whispers, in Xiao Bao's heart, Daddy is Xiao Bao's biological father. Xiao Bao doesn't like other people and doesn't want them to be daddy. If Xiao Bao doesn't like it, Niangqin won't like it either. As he speaks, his little hands hug Di Ming Ju tightly. That soft and tender voice seems to be making an oath and comforting at the same time. Di Ming Ju only feels that his heart has been hit by something, and all his feelings flow out in 1,000 miles. He wants to say, Daddy also loves Xiao Bao the most. Whether he and Mu Yan will have other children in the future, even if Xiao Bao is not his own flesh and blood, this child will also be his and Mu Yan's most precious treasure in this life, and no one can replace it. However, Di Ming Ju is used to holding his words in his heart, and doesn't know how to say it for a while. Xiao Bao says again, Daddy, Xiao Bao has passed the 5th round of assessment. Di Ming Ju slowly takes a breath. His voice is soft. Xiao Bao did a good job. The little boy's delicate little face shows a shy smile. Then he blinks. Xiao Bao and Niangqin love Daddy very much, and Xiao Bao also works hard to become stronger, but he paused for a moment, his eyes slightly red, and crystal clear tears rolled down his cheeks. But Xiao Bao hasn't seen Niangqin for a long time. Xiao Bao misses Niangqin, I really want to see Yangqin. Daddy, can you take Xiaobao to see Yangqin? Boom! The whole Fusang city shakes, and rich spiritual energy surges out from the ground. It's like someone has thrown a thunderbolt into the city, rolling up a whirlpool and surging violently. Along with the spiritual energy, there's also a trace of bone-chilling cold. It's the souls buried underground, shackled in the myriad caves formation for 10, 100, 1,000 years. The air is filled with creepy, ghostly wails and wolf howls. For a moment, the entire Fusang city fell silent. Even the women who were immersed in their desire for revenge revealed a trace of fear. The temperature in the air suddenly dropped to freezing point. Even though the sun was high in the sky and the heat was scorching, everyone in Fusang City could only feel the bone-chilling cold. With great difficulty, the female cultivators who managed to escape from the Ascension realm held their magic tools and prepared for battle. They had been in despair, and they had wanted nothing more than to die. But now, he had finally found a chance to live. Only then did they realize that they still wanted to live, wanted to start a new life. However, just as they were panicking, he discovered that these vengeful spirits had all surged in all directions, burrowing into the bodies of the men in Fusang City who had yet to die. Ah! Shrill screams came from all directions. Don't kill me. I won't do it anymore. I won't dare to abuse women anymore. Please let me live. I beg you. Oh, aren't you dead? Why are you here? Manyang, I was wrong. A night of husband and wife. Please spare me. Spare. Some of the screams came from the beasts who had been tortured to the point of death. But some of them came from the empty houses, the ground, and the ruins. It turned out that many men in Fusang City had already gone into hiding because they realized that the situation was not right. It seems that I haven't asked for votes for a long time. Monthly votes, it's almost the end of the month. Vote as you see fit. Mua. Chapter 2634. The nightmare was over. It was time to go home. There were not many women in Fusang City, except for those who escaped from the 100 Blossom Massacre. Many women did not even wait for others to save them before they were brutally killed by the group of men. In fact, in this riot in Fusang City, the number of women was less than half of the men. If not for the fact that the women who participated in the 100 Blossom Massacre were all high-level cultivators, if not for the fact that Zhu Wan, a leaving body stage cultivator, was holding the line. No matter how useless the men in Fusang City were, they might not be able to take the initiative. The disparity in numbers made it impossible for these women to dig out all the beasts in Fusang City in a short period of time. However, humans cannot do it. But it did not mean that ghosts cannot do it. Thus, Fusang City once again became a purgatory on Earth. It was just that in the past, it was those innocent women who fell into it. But now, with the cycle of cause and effect, this place had become the burial ground of those executioners. Blood gushed out from the cracks in all directions and dyed the ground red. In the air, there was turbulent spiritual energy and a thick smell of blood. Those female cultivators who were covered in wounds held knives and swords in their hands. They stared blankly at the bloody corpses in front of them. The faces that had once tortured them like demons were all twisted and deformed. Their protruding eyes were filled with fear and despair, as if they had experienced the most terrifying thing in the world before they died. From now on, they can no longer hurt you or imprison you. A faint voice lingered in their ears. It seemed like one person, but it also seemed like countless people were mixed together. You are so lucky, so lucky. If we can wait for redemption, if we can live to this day. But that girl told us. It is not any of us who are wrong, but those beasts who dragged us into hell. You are us. Your release is our redemption. The female cultivators suddenly widened their eyes, and the hands that were holding their weapons trembled uncontrollably. They had already realized who was speaking. It was those vengeful spirits. They were the tens of thousands of vengeful spirits that had long been smashed into pieces and buried under this city of sin. We already have no future, but you still have. Therefore, we will be the ones to stain our hands with blood. The sins of this city shall be exterminated by us. Let us put an end to this everlasting hatred. As for you, all you need to do is carry our hope and future and continue forward, never looking back." The girls looked up at the sky in a daze. There was clearly nothing, but that voice rang clearly in their ears and in their hearts. Resonate with them. In the sky, a figure in snow-white clothes slowly floated down. It landed on the broken wall that was dyed red by blood and dust. Her gaze swept across all the women present, and her eyes seemed to be filled with gentleness, but also seemed to be sparkling. "The nightmare is over." Her tone was gentle, but her voice was clear. Every word struck the souls of those girls. "You could go home now." Clank! Someone couldn't hold the sword in his hand any longer and dropped it to the ground. He couldn't hold it in any longer, and tears streamed down his face. There were also people who couldn't care less about the rivers of blood below. They crawled on the ground and wailed loudly. Her cries were heart-wrenching and heart-wrenching. It was as if she wanted to vent all the pain, suffering, and grievances she had suffered all these years. Chapter 26:35. The nightmare is over. It's time to go home, too. Even Mu Yin, who is used to seeing wind and rain and considers herself to have a heart of stone, can't help but have her eyes redden. She closed her eyes and slowly sat cross-legged on the ruins. The Tian Mo Chin appears on her lap, her 10 fingers slowly strumming. Benevolence Saint activated. But this time, it wasn't the chi of heaven and earth and his own chi of life that was about to die. Instead, it was given to the vengeful spirits that floated in the air. The sound of the zither was like a stream, cleansing the city that had been soaked in sin and blood. The sound of the zither was like a gentle breeze, gently brushing past the wounded bodies and souls of these women. The sound of the zither was like the sun, shining in every corner, dispelling the darkness and welcoming the light. The benevolence of a saint would benefit the world. I'll use my lifespan to exchange for your transcendence and reincarnation. I'm here to fulfill my promise and send you home. The lingering sound of the zither grew louder and more moving. Countless energies fly up from the Tian Mo Chin into the void, twining around something, washing away bit by bit, blending bit by bit. Suddenly, something fluttered down from the sky. The woman in Fusang City could not help but raise her head. Through her teary eyes, she looked over in a daze. At some point, snowflakes began to fall from the sky. No, it wasn't a snowflake. Pure white, sparkling and translucent, like dew and snow. When he stretched out his hand to catch it, it would scatter like mist. Those were vengeful souls that had been purified. Mayan's complexion is pale, sparkling, and translucent beads of sweat wet the hair on her forehead. However, she did not care at all as she watched more and more flying snow falling from the sky. The corners of his mouth curled into a faint smile, and the music that flowed from his fingers became more and more gentle. Even if the spiritual power in his body was almost exhausted, even if he had to use his lifespan to make up for it, she didn't care, because she had promised these people that she would free them and send them home. Suddenly, Mu Yin feels someone lightly touch her cheek. Then, he heard a faint voice in his ear. It was soft and distant, as if it came from the horizon. "Ju Mayan, thank you the second time. Thank you the third time. Thank you for freeing us. Thank you for keeping your promise. Our nightmare is over." With each touch, it was like a kiss. Countless snowflakes began to change direction and float towards her. A strange energy is injected into Mu Yan's body. It replenished the lifespan that she had consumed, and also allowed her originally exhausted spiritual power to condense again, until the last snowflake entered her body. Between heaven and earth, it was as if the words "thank you" and "goodbye" were still echoing. Mu Yan slowly stops playing the zither and presses her palm against her chest. With a slight movement of her divine sense, a crystal-clear pearl that looked like a teardrop appeared in her palm. Mu Yan can feel that this bead contains a powerful energy. However, this energy was not spirit power, dark power, devil power, immortal power, or even divine power. What kind of energy was this? Muyin held the bead in her hand in confusion. Suddenly, she heard the joyful voices of the people of the Xiaoyao school. Sixth senior sister, are you all right? Junior sister, it's great that you're not injured. The 6 people of the Xiaoyao school landed in front of her and happily looked at her, who was unharmed. However, Luo Yu, Ling Yuxing, and Lung Yuma's eyes were all red. It was obvious that they had been crying. Chapter 2636. A Proper Messiah Persona. 1. When they appeared, the teardrop disappeared automatically and merged with her sea of consciousness. Muyin wanted to move it, but she couldn't, so she could only give up. She smiled and showed the Xiaoyao sect that she was unscathed. Then, she threw a palm-sized disc to Chumoli. Third senior brother, this is the core of the Myriad K formation. Chumoli raised his eyebrows. Do you know how precious the core of the Myriad K formation is? Why'd you throw it to me so casually? Was on the tip of his tongue. He swallowed it back. Chumoli smiled and looked down to study the disc in his hand. The disc was the color of green jade. It was crystal clear and had a delicate luster. However, if one were to look closely at the center of the disc, they would be able to see countless densely packed red threads. It was as if blood had seeped into it, and it gave people a creepy feeling. Chumoli rubbed the disc with his fingers and closed his eyes. He sent his divine sense into it, but suddenly opened his eyes. His face turned pale. Third senior brother, are you okay? Third brother, what's wrong? The 6 people gathered around him nervously. Muyin asked anxiously, is the Myriad Deep K formation still up to no good? Chumoli opened his eyes and saw the 6 people's worried eyes. A hint of warmth flashed in his eyes. He shook his head and handed the disc back to Mu Yin regretfully. I can't control this thing right now. I can only give it back to you, junior sister. Mu Yin hesitated. Chumoli was quite regretful and pulled his hand back. Forget it. It's a little dangerous, but it's really interesting. It's worth studying. Mu Yin quickly grabbed the disc and put it in her space without thinking. Luo Yu and the others also said, 6 senior sister, you must keep the core well. Don't let third senior brother get it. Yes, he doesn't know his own body at all. With this thing in his hands, he'll ruin his body sooner or later. Even Shinjio, who is usually quiet, couldn't help but say, third brother, be good. Don't play with it. It's dangerous. Junior sister, keep it well. Chumoli touched his nose helplessly, but a smile appeared in his eyes. Down below, the excited women gradually calmed down. They wiped away their tears and looked up at the 7 people on top of the ruins. In the end, everyone's eyes are focused on Mu Yan. Zhu Wan was the first to bend her knees and said in a hoarse voice, we will never forget the kindness of saving our lives. Miss June, please accept our respects. Then 1, 2, 3, 100, all the female cultivators knelt down. Their foreheads were pressed tightly against the ground as they shouted each word in their hoarse voice. Miss, I will never forget your kindness in saving my life. For a moment, the entire city was filled with the twisted corpses of men and the figures of women kneeling on the ground in gratitude. This scene was even more shocking than the ascension of an emperor or the ascension of an almighty being. Luo Yu could not help but click her tongue as she shook her head and said, 6 senior sister is 6 senior sister. Everywhere we go, if we don't make a big fuss, the sun will rise from the west. Lung Yuma glanced at her mother, who was still unconscious on her back. Her expression was gentle and grateful. If we weren't in a desperate situation, you wouldn't be able to imagine what kind of savior little junior sister is. Chapter 2637. Perfect Savior Persona 2. Asking for votes. Mu Yin looked at them and said in all seriousness, I can't be the savior of the world alone. Without 4th senior sister, I would have already been killed by Willow Valley Chung when I didn't have the strength to resist. If the senior brothers hadn't arrived in time, I would have been swallowed up by the ghost soldiers of the Myriad Cave formation. I don't care about being a messiah, but if, she smiled softly, if I'm really put in that position by accident, then it must be us, the carefree 7, who will advance and retreat together and share weal and woe together. Or could it be that senior brothers want to abandon me and live a carefree life. They were stunned at first, then couldn't help laughing. There was an indescribable sense of relief in their smiles, but there was a desire to become stronger in their eyes. They had to work harder and work harder to become stronger. Otherwise, it would not be them who left their junior sister behind, but they would be left far away by her. Although these women in Fusang City had taken revenge and freed themselves from the shackles of the heart-locking buckle, but they had been tortured day by day over the years, and their bodies had long been riddled with holes and weak. If they were to leave Fusang City just like that, they would probably die along the way. So Mu Yin ordered the healthy women who had just been caught in Fusang City. They cleaned up a few courtyards that could still be lived in and fixed them up. Mu Yin began to refine pills and heal their wounds. Many of the women were severely injured. Their dantian was destroyed, their cultivation had fallen by more than half, and their bodies were full of internal injuries caused by those beasts. They knew very well in their hearts that even a great doctor would be helpless in the face of their broken bodies. What's more, this Miss June was just a young girl in her early 20s. Her fighting strength was so strong, and her attainments and formations were so profound. Even the impregnable Fusang City formation could be broken. How could she have superb medical skills to treat them? These women had long been desperate, and there was only one thought in their minds. That was to go back to see their loved ones before going to the netherworld. However, the reality was completely beyond their expectations. Wang Miao looks down at the scar on her abdomen, feeling the spiritual power gushing out from her dantian. She looks at mine in shock, her words trembling. Miss June, my dantian has recovered. My cultivation has reached gold core stage. Mu Yin shook his head regretfully. Your injuries are too severe, and you've been sick for so many years. It's almost impossible for you to recover to your peak. Sorry. Wang Miao's former cultivation level was at the 3rd stage of nascent soul. No. Miss June, how can you say sorry? Tears gushed out of Wang Miao's eyes. You don't know how grateful we are to you, and how lucky we are to have met you. Miss June, I have nowhere to go. Can I follow you in the future? In this life, I'm willing to serve you as my master. Whether I'm a slave or a maid, or a cow or a horse, I'm willing. Mu Yin stares blankly. Why would I want you to be a slave or a maid, an ox or a horse? Wang Miao knelt down and was about to speak. Suddenly, the door was pushed open and Zhu Wan led the hundreds of women into the room. They knelt in front of her. Miss June, we've long been homeless and we don't want to go back anywhere. The world is vast, but there's no place for us to go. In fact, after experiencing those inhuman tortures and mistreatment, they simply couldn't trust any human, whether it's a man or a woman. Only this girl in front of them was their salvation and also the only light in their lives. The fixed update time is after midnight. If there's time, it'll usually be after midnight. If there's no time, it'll be a bit later. Therefore, I sincerely hope that, my dears, you can look at it the next day. No need to wait for updates. No need to stay up late. It's the best of both worlds. What do you think? Chapter 2638. Zhu Wan slowly raises her head, her slightly red eyes looking straight at Mu Yin, her voice hoarse. Miss June, didn't you say that you would take us home? But we already have no home. Can you allow us to follow by your side? Regardless of the ends of the earth, we are willing to pledge our lives to follow you. If we disobey, heaven and earth will not tolerate it. Following Zhu Wan's words, those hundreds of women simultaneously kowtow, shouting in a clear voice. We are willing to serve Miss as our master. Pledge our lives to follow you, with no regrets. Pledge our lives to follow you, with no regrets. Each of these women has been imprisoned in Fusang City for many years. More than half of them survived the 100 Blossom Massacre with Mu Yin. Looking at this scene, Mu Yin is speechless for a moment. She sighs softly. If I remember correctly, most of you still have relatives. What you should do is to return to them. Zhu Wan sneers. I come from the Zhu family of the Southern Land. Miss June may not know what kind of family it is. Before my talent was revealed, my father clamored that women don't need to cultivate, don't waste resources. Later, my cultivation advanced by leaps and bounds, reaching the leaving aperture stage, even surpassing my father. But he became angry out of humiliation, saying that I was showing my face in public, shaming the Zhu family. He quickly arranged a marriage for me, and made me obediently become the tool of the Zhu family's marriage alliance. I couldn't stand my father's oppression, so I escaped. Who knew that I would end up in Fusang City? At this point, Zhu Wan's hands tightly clench into fists, her eyes rolling with strong emotions. A mocking smile bloomed on her face, making her look incomparably desolate. Miss June, do you think that with my current state, if I were to return to the Zhu family, I would receive their care and protection? The expressions on the other women's faces are almost exactly the same as Zhu Wan's. I also escaped once, and let my husband come to Xixiang City to save me. But when he found out that I was captured by Fusang City, and that I had long lost my innocence, he ran away in a panic, looking as if he was afraid that I would implicate him. For such a man, it would be good if I didn't kill him. I was originally a gift from the sect to Fusang City, only to exchange benefits from Fusang City. I have no relatives or home for a long time. I simply don't know where I can go. Pairs of eyes filled with ripples in the deathly stillness were all looking at mine, as if they were looking at the last hope of this life. Miss, please take us in. Whether it's going to the brothel to gather intelligence, seducing men, or warming the bed, we can do it. We are willing to serve you for the rest of our lives. We will definitely serve you better than those stinky men and make you more comfortable. The corner of Mu Yan's mouth twitches. What fucking bed warming? What kind of fucking service is more dedicated than those stinky men? Why the hell would I need hundreds of women to warm my bed and serve me? But according to these women's narration, they were indeed homeless. It wasn't that she couldn't settle these people down. The Dark Flame Army needed all kinds of talents, especially the Divine Secret Battalion that was responsible for collecting intelligence. If these women joined, it would be like adding wings to a tiger. However, to Mu Yin, the Dark Flame Army was not only a force in her hands, but also her family. Could she just casually expose them in front of others? www. Chapter 2639. It was as if she understood Mu Yan's mind. Zhu Wan suddenly knelt on one knee, pressed her hand on her chest, and said in a clear voice, Zhu Wan, swear to heaven that I will serve Jun Mu Yin as my master, follow her till death, and never betray her. If I violate this oath, may I be struck by lightning and consigned to eternal damnation. As soon as her voice fell, a ray of light shone from Zhu Wan's body, covering her whole body. This was the formation of the power of the oath. In other words, this oath had been recognized by heaven. Once violated, they would be directly killed by the divine thunder of heaven. When the other women saw Zhu Wan's action, they also knelt down without hesitation and swore to heaven. Mu Yin looked at the women kneeling on the ground. There was no pride or joy in her heart, only unspeakable sorrow and pity. If she had not been driven into a dead end, if she had not been completely disappointed in the world and human nature, how could these people entrust the rest of their lives to a stranger without any hesitation? It was like a drowning person grabbing the last piece of duckweed. She couldn't care less about what price she had to pay to catch this duckweed. She closed her eyes for a long time before opening them again. She said slowly, "Okay, I will settle you down. But please always remember that you are free. As long as you don't betray me, you can leave at any time by telling me when you want to leave. You're already free. Don't trap yourself in the quagmire of pain and hatred, unable to extricate yourself." Mu Yin sent out a message talisman, informing the nearest branch of the Tianji Battalion to come and pick them up. Mississippi, after confirming the contractual relationship, these women began to call Mu Yin Mississippi Wang Miao, said with some hesitation, "I have a friend who resisted very fiercely when he was caught, and even injured a dignitary. So he was locked in the beauty cave by those beasts." Thinking of the darkness and endless terror in the beauty cave, Wang Miao couldn't help but shiver, and her eyes overflowed with intense hatred and sorrow. "My friend is probably long dead, but I still want to take a look. Miss, the beauty cave can only be opened by the energy emitted by the myriad cave formation. Can you? Mu Yin frowned. Is there such a place in Fusong City? Was the entire Fusong City not like hell enough? Was it not scary enough? Zhu Wan sneered and said, the beauty cave is actually not that scary. There is no torture, no abuse. However, there is nothing in there. There's no light, no sound, and other than a few special days of the month, the people locked inside don't even have the sense of touch. It's fine if it's just 1 or 2 days, but if you're locked up for too long, you'll really go crazy. The so-called special days of the month are the days when the poor people in Fusong City who can't find a wife can go and vent their desires after paying a certain amount of crystals. However, such humiliating days are the only time the girls in the beauty cave can feel that they are still alive. Wang Miao looks at Mayan and opens her mouth, seemingly hesitant to speak. But in the end, he still said softly, Miss Lung's mother was once imprisoned there with her maidservant. Later on, her maidservant died, and she became like this. Mu Yin took a deep breath, his eyes surging with raging anger. She felt that it was too easy for those bastards in Fusong City to die so easily. www. Chapter 2640. But before she could speak, a strong wave of energy came from afar. Mu Yin frowned and said in a low voice, stay here with all the women. Don't step out of my formation. Wang Miao and the others nodded quickly. Mu Yin leaps up and flies high into the sky. Sensing the commotion, Yin Ruhan and the others also leaped into the sky, frowning slightly. The energy wave didn't come from one direction, but from all directions. Yin Ruhan said, they don't look friendly. Mu Yin lightly weighed the yellow disc in her hand and chuckled. When the myriad deep cave formation was broken, the energy wave couldn't be concealed at all. She wanted to leave immediately at that time. But there were too many women in Fusong City, and most of them were seriously injured. Plus, she was both physically and mentally exhausted after gaining freedom. If she didn't settle down and get treatment immediately, she might not live for more than 2 days. So Mu Yin chose to stay. Soon, flying swords whistled in the sky. Dozens of sage-like men in Taoist robes appeared in the sky above Fusong City. Seeing the ruins below, the bloodstains of the city had not dried up yet. Their pupils shrank. Their eyes slowly turned and fell on Mu Yin and the others. The leader was a middle-aged Taoist with an elegant appearance. He cupped his hands and said, I am Li Anyang, the head of the Chongshan sect. May I know which sect you are from? Do you know what happened in Fusong City? Yin Ruhan took a step forward and was about to speak. Suddenly, a young man behind Li Anyang pointed at Mu Yin and exclaimed, Hey, she. She is Ju Mu Yin, God Killer Mu Yin. Li Anyang's eyes widened slightly. When he looked at Mu Yin again, there was nervousness and fear in his eyes. As for the other disciples of the Chongshan sect, they retreated a few meters. While they were talking, many people arrived. There were men and women among them. Some came on flying swords, and some came on flying boats. Every group of people was wearing the same clothes. Obviously, they were from the same sect or family. When they saw the scene in Fusong City, everyone had an incredulous look on their faces. Who is this crazy person? How could they destroy Fusong City like this? Valley Master Lu? What about Patriarch Ge? Is he still alive? Lin Yang took a long time to calm himself down and ask, Miss June, I have long heard of your great name. I wonder how Fusong City, how did it become like this? Hearing Li Anyang's words, everyone then turns their gazes towards Mayan's group of 7. Soon, someone recognized them. The unfettered 7 devils. Do they destroy Fusong City like this? Isn't this too deranged? No, that's impossible. It's not like we haven't experienced Fusong City's grand formation before. Even peak leaving Aperture Realm cultivators can't display their full strength in there. How can it be destroyed by a few nascent soul and golden core cultivators? Listening to the discussions of the crowd, Mayan smiled coldly. Her gaze swept over everyone present, and she slowly said, There's no need to doubt. I was the one who destroyed Fusang City. I was the one who broke the Great Array. I was also the one who slaughtered everyone inside. Ho! Listening to Mu Yan's careless narration, the people from the Western continent's sects all sucked in a breath of cold air. Jun Mayan, Li Anyang laments bitterly. www. Chapter 26:41. Looking at your appearance, you look like a naive little girl. But how could you be so vicious and merciless? That's the lives of a city's people. Living human lives? How could you do it? The people of the other sex also have expressions of anger and heartache. A few days ago, I had a drink with the elder of the Higashida family. He was such a kind person. He actually died in the hands of such a vicious woman. Although Lord Lu lives in seclusion, if our Chu family begs him, he will still provide us with magic weapons engraved with talismans. How could there be such a vicious woman in the world? If she wasn't vicious, how could she be called a demoness? Treating the lives of a city's people as ants, killing them as they please. We think that they aren't vicious, but insane. What's the difference between this kind of behavior and the demon race? No wonder they're called the unfettered 7 demons. They really are evil demons. In my opinion, demons should be put to death. The discussions around them are getting louder and louder, and more indignant. Hundreds of practitioners above Yuanying's stage surround them, filled with righteous indignation, looking like they want to demand justice. The anger in Lung Yuma's eyes is almost about to erupt. She raises the Red Lotus soul-stealing blade and is about to rush out, but is stopped by Mu Yan. Mu Yan's gaze sweeps over everyone present, smiling faintly. Listening to the senior's tone, it seems that you have a good personal relationship with the people of Fusang City. Li Anyang says with a sullen face. Fusang City is a first-rate aristocratic family in the western continent of our Ziyunjie and has always been kind and righteous. Although we are not selfless people, we can't just watch them die tragically. Jun Muyin, you'd better not. Not waiting for Li Anyang to finish speaking, Mu Yin has already lightly interrupted him. Since you have a good relationship, then presumably you all should know what kind of life the women in Fusang City live, right? Li Anyang's voice stops. His eyes unconsciously drift to the side. The other people present, especially the male practitioners, all show a somewhat embarrassed expression, lightly coughing. Looking at their performance, Mu Yan's expression becomes a little cold. Since you already knew, yet you turn a blind eye, and even help the evildoer. Hypocrites like you have the nerve to talk about benevolence and morality with me. Are you worthy? The faces of Li Anyang and the rest alternated between green and white. After a long while, someone retorted without much confidence, that's the tradition of Fusang City. How can we outsiders interfere? Those women staying in Fusang City are also of their own volition. Voluntary? You're fucking telling me it was voluntary. Lung Yuma could no longer hold it in. The long blade in her hand fiercely slashed towards the person who spoke. I'll chop off your dog head, and you'll fucking talk to me about being willing. The Red Lotus soul-snatching saber shone brightly and slashed at the crowd as if it was crushing dry weeds and rotten wood. It terrified the nascent soul realm cultivator to the point his face went pale and he covered his head and fled. Everyone was startled by the Xiaoyao sect's behavior of starting a fight without saying a word. Li Anyang looked at the ruins below and couldn't help but take a step back. He gritted his teeth and said, even if those women didn't do it willingly, they can only blame their bad luck. The world of cultivators is the law of the jungle. They entered Fusang City. This is their fate. The curve of Mu Yan's mouth becomes more and more mocking. That's right. The weak are prey to the strong. It's a matter of heaven and earth. Fusang City wanted to make a move against me, but unfortunately, they were weak and I was strong. So in the end, the entire Fusang City was massacred by me. They can only blame their own bad luck. Seniors, don't you think so? www. Chapter 2642. The robbers have come. 1. These words are simply using a spear to attack a shield, making everyone unable to say a word of rebuttal. Li Anyang's face turns green and white. After a while, he grits his teeth and says, Jun Mayan, it's not that I look down on you, but Fusang City has stood for thousands of years. Even a crossing calamity stage expert can't break this iron bucket formation. How could you slaughter this city? Mayan sneered, Headley, don't beat around the bush. Don't you want to ask where the core of the great formation that has protected Fusang City for thousands of years is? She gently tosses the disc in her hand up and casually says, well, the core of the Myriad K formation is in my hands. If you have the ability, come and snatch it. Hearing this, Li Anyang and the others look at the yellow disc with green eyes. Yes, their first purpose in rushing to Fusang City is not to seek justice for Fusang City at all. Instead, they covet the famous Great Formation that protects Fusang City. In the western land of Ziyun Realm, almost everyone knows that there is a great formation in Fusang City that has stood for thousands of years. The cultivation and strength of the people in Fusang City are insignificant. This is already an open secret. However, as long as this great formation exists, the city is indestructible. In the city, people like Willow Valley City are godlike existences that cannot be defeated. Moreover, as long as they pay a certain price, even if they leave the range of the Great Formation, they can still get a blessing for a short period of time. It allowed them to double their strength. Who wouldn't want to have such a great formation? If such a great formation can be placed in a mountain gate, their sects and families will become an iron bucket that no one can break. From then on, they can do whatever they want inside, and no one can control them. When a Myriad K formation was broken, the energy that has accumulated for thousands of years was released. It was sensed by the nearby sects and families, so they rushed over immediately. It was for the sake of seizing the core and the formation disk of Fusang City's Great Formation. Li Anyang swallows his saliva, suppressing the excitement and greed in his heart. Looking at Mayan, he says, Miss June, even if the people of Fusang City didn't have eyes and offended you, they only have themselves to blame for ending up like this. However, the treasures in Fusang City belong to our Purple Cloud Realm's western land. You can't be so greedy and want to take them for yourself, right? The smile on Mu Yan's face becomes more and more sarcastic. If I don't take it for myself, I'll let you take it for yourself. If you want Fusang City's great city-protecting formation, why don't you come and take it yourself? After I've worked so hard to break the array and obtain the array core, you want to take the spoils of war for yourself? Do you have any shame? Luo Yu giggled and said, They want Face, but unfortunately, Face doesn't want them. It's obvious that you've always been robbing others by force, yet you have to pretend to be benevolent and righteous. Are all the cultivators of the western land of the Purple Cloud Realm so shameless? His face immediately turned green and white. He grits his teeth, no longer as gentle and refined as before, revealing his ferocious nature. Do you think I'm negotiating with you? Today you have to hand over the formation disk, even if you don't want to. Luo Yu shakes her head and sighs. Tis-tis-ke, even if you're shameless, there's one thing I don't understand. You have so many sects, but there's only one formation disk. Even if you snatch it, who will you give it to? Hearing this, everyone's expression suddenly turns cold. The sects vaguely look at each other and see the vigilance and determination in each other's eyes. Chapter 26:43. The murderers and robbers have come, too. A white-haired old man coughed lightly and said, My Rakshasa sect specializes in arrays. This great array can only be used if it stays in our sect. Bah, your Rakshasa sect specializes in arrays. My Chu family is the one who is truly qualified to inherit Fusang City's great array. Haha, your Chu family doesn't even have a crossing tribulation stage cultivator, yet you have the nerve to fight with us for the array disc. Are you worthy? Seeing that the crowd was about to fight before they could grab the array disc, Li Anyang immediately said loudly, Everyone, please calm down. Please listen to me. Seeing that everyone was looking over, Li Anyang stroked his beard and said slowly, "This array disc originally belonged to Fusong City. Now, the entire Fusong City has been massacred, and City Lord Lu's corpse is nowhere to be found. We inherited this great array because we don't want Fusong City to be annihilated. We want to carry forward Fusong City's skills. In this way, we can be considered to have received Fusong City's favor. Since we are indebted, we must repay the favor. Then let's do it this way. Whoever kills Mayan and takes revenge for City Lord Lu will be the one to keep this city protecting array. But the other families can also choose disciples to enter the array every year. Aren't there 6 carefree 7 devils other than Mayan? Among these 6 people, whoever kills the most and kills the fastest will be given priority to enter the formation every year. Our families hereby swear that we will never violate it. What do you think?" Everyone thought for a while and then nodded. This method could be considered comprehensive, and everyone could accept it. Soon after, everyone's eyes that look at Mayan are filled with teasing, killing intent. Li Anyang's face once again hung a sanctimonious smile. "Miss June, I gave you a chance. Just now, if you obediently handed over the array core, you could at least live. But now, not only will you die, even your fellow disciples won't be able to live." Li Anyang didn't doubt this point at all, although the cultivators from each family didn't have crossing tribulation stage. But there were as many as 5 at the peak of leaving body stage. Not to mention the other leaving body stage and nascent soul stage cultivators, there were countless. The reputation of the Carefree 7 was resounding, and Mayan's strength was heaven-defying. But so what if it was heaven-defying? Under the absolute advantage of strength and numbers, only death awaited them. Mu Yin narrowed her eyes and said to Yun Ruhan in a low voice, "Eldest senior brother, leave with the women in the hall. I'll hold them back," but the other 6 people of the Carefree sect moved. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. A few figures whizzed past, spreading out and standing in 6 different directions. Originally, it was Li Anyang and the others who surrounded the unfettered 7 sons, but now it was Yun Ruhan and the others who surrounded the people from the various sections. However, it was a joke for 7 people to surround more than 100 people. Lung Yumal waved the long blade in her hand and rested it on her shoulder. She wiped her nose and laughed wanly. "Junior sister, this time, don't expect to leave us behind and be in the limelight." Yun Ruhan's gaze was gentle, but her eyes were filled with determination. "Junior sister, using the Big Dipper is the Carefree sect's strongest weapon. If we leave, who are you going to form the formation with?" Luo Yu opened her mouth, revealing 2 cute dimples. She said with a little grievance, "Six senior sister, we aren't that weak, right? Don't push us to the front every time there's danger. We can also be very strong." Chapter 2644. As soon as he says that, a bird's cry soars to the sky. A red bifong flies out from behind him and hovers in the air. A powerful pressure permeates between heaven and earth. Qinzhou silently takes out his black hammer and fiercely swings it. No one is allowed to bully junior sister. Bully junior sister, kill. Ling Yuxing slowly closes his eyes, and when he opens them again, he steps lightly. A magical scene happens. 1 Ling Yuxing appears beside him, then 2, and finally, 6 Ling Yuxing appear. It's not a cloning technique. It's just that his speed is too fast. When he steps, there are after images in people's eyes. It's impossible to tell which one is real and which one is fake. Ling Yuxing, "Junior sister, my strength may be far inferior to yours, but I can guarantee that in this Xiojin continent, anyone can take my life. I won't drag you down." Chu Moli's expression is the same as usual. His fingers caress the wheelchair, and he says with a faint smile, "Sorry, I'm just a weakling. I'm just here to make up the numbers for the Big Dipper. Junior sister, just ignore me." He learned the phrase, weakling, from Bai Xia. The other people of the Xiaoyao sect immediately roll their eyes at him. Luo Yu and Lung Yumal also use it to give Chu Moli the middle finger. Mayan stares at her fellow disciples, standing in 6 different directions. Her eyes are a little warm, and her chest is surging with magma-like emotions. Her mouth slowly curls up, and the Tian Emochin appears. Good, the Xiaoyao 7. Advance and retreat together. Big Dipper, get ready. As soon as she says that, 10 fingers fall. The sound of the Qin suddenly resounds, like the galloping of 10,000 horses. A ray of light rises from the Tian Emochin, splitting into 6 and flying towards Yunruhan and the other 5. In the space, the core of the myriad caves formation faintly emits a yellow light. The 6 threads are coated with a layer of golden light. Big Dipper complete. Li Anyang never thought that they would be in such a situation of certain death. Not only did the Xiaoyao 7 demons not beg for mercy, they even wanted to fight them head-on without fear. What kind of joke is this? 7 against 100, and each of these 100 people has a higher cultivation than them. Were they crazy? Li Anyang's expression was ferocious. Gritting his teeth, he waved his hand and said, "Fellow Taoists, don't show mercy. Kill them and take revenge for Fusang City. If we kill Jun Mayan, Fusang City protecting array will be ours. Kill." In an instant, Sword Chi whistled through the sky like a dense net. The interweaving attacks produced a thunderous roar. Fusang City, which was already in ruins, was blown up beyond recognition. Zhu Wan, Wang Miao, and Guiyun were all hiding in a pile of rubble, nervously looking at the sky, their faces filled with anxiety and worry. There's a defensive formation arranged by Mayan here. As long as it wasn't a leaving aperture realm cultivator attacking it at close range, the formation would remain unbreakable. Furthermore, this formation also had a concealment function. There are so many women hiding inside, but the cultivators above could not find a single one of them. Guiyun looked at the lone figure fighting with hundreds of people in the sky and anxiously paced in circles. What to do? What to do? Jun Mo, Xie will be fine, right? This group of damn bastards, and they're even men. Hundreds of people against 7 people. Don't they have any shame? No, we can't hide here. I have to go out and help Jun Mo, Xie. Guiyun muttered and was about to rush out. Chapter 2645. The other female cultivators had long been unable to restrain themselves, their hearts burning with anxiety. At this time, when they saw Guiyun make the first move, they immediately shouted, "Let's go, and help Miss June. Aren't they just relying on their numbers? Do you think we'll lose in numbers?" However, before Guiyun could rush out of the formation, she was pulled back by Yuanbo. "Xiaoyun, calm down. Have you forgotten the great god Jun's request?" Guiyun replied anxiously, "I don't care. Junimo Xie is being besieged by them." "Ah, the great god Jun is injured. I'm going to kill these bastards." With that, she pushed Yuanbo away. Piak, a tight slap landed on her face. Then, it was the female cultivators who wanted to rush out. Slap, slap, slap. The slaps were ruthless and accurate. Zhu Wan withdrew her hand and looked at the people who had been beaten in a daze. Her eyes were cold. "I don't care if you have good intentions or if you're stupid. I only know that Miss ordered me to watch over all of you and not allow you to leave the array. If anyone dares to disobey, don't blame me for being impolite." Ilanxin walked up slowly and said expressionlessly, "You are so impulsive and reckless. Do you want to waste the road that Miss paved for us and the future that she left for us? Furthermore, we are just a bunch of trash. Are we going to help or be a burden if we rush out? Have you ever thought about it? Or do you think that Miss June saving you once isn't enough? Do you want her to save you 2, 3, or 4 times?" Ilanxin's words made Guiyun and the female cultivators feel ashamed. Guiyun covered her face in Yuanbo's arms. Her face was full of shame, but her eyes were red. But they really went too far. Guiyun looked up at the sky. He just happened to see Luo Yu and Yun Ruhan being heavily injured and spitting out a mouthful of blood. Fresh blood sprinkled down from the sky, and even the air seemed to be filled with the smell of blood. Li Anyang's attack was directed towards Chu Moli, who was sitting in a wheelchair. Without hesitation, Mu Yin summoned the 7 absolute swords and flew up to block it. Clang! Li Anyang's sword was blocked. However, a meteor hammer ruthlessly smashes towards Mayan's head. Chu Moli suddenly jumps up from his wheelchair, grabs Mayan, and rushes downwards. The meteor hammer smashed on Chu Moli's back. A muffled sound was heard, followed by the sound of bones breaking. This caused Chu Moli's complexion to turn pale, and a large mouthful of blood directly sprayed onto Mayan's neck. Third senior brother. Mu Yin let out a scream. He abruptly turned around and stepped on the 7 absolute sword. Then, he scooped up the limp Chu Moli into his bosom. It was also at this moment that Lung Yuma screamed from behind, "Little junior sister, be careful." Mayan suddenly turns around. Li Anyang's sword has arrived. That was the sword strike of a leaving Aperture Realm cultivator. It was as fast as lightning. Not to mention that Mu Yin was currently carrying Chu Moli. Even if she wasn't burdened, she still wouldn't be able to dodge it. In the next second, her pupils suddenly shrank, because she saw a slender figure flying over like lightning, blocking in front of her. It was the Stormwind Firefly Ling Yuxing. That was Level 5, the fastest in the entire Xiao Yao school. Only he can block this sword from Mu Yin. However, the tip of the sword was aimed straight at his chest. Fifth senior brother. Even Mayan's breathing has stopped. Fear and despair have seized all of her mind. Little 5. No. A sinister smile appeared on Li Anyang's face. He urged his divine sense, and the tip of the sword fiercely thrust forward. Almost at the same time, a cyan sword light whistled over from the horizon. Bang! With a loud sound, Li Anyang's long sword shattered into powder. The airflow of the collision directly sent him flying dozens of meters away, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. Mayan's complexion was still deathly pale, and she blankly turned her head. She saw a figure dressed in cyan, like a pine tree, slowly descending in front of her. The sunlight fell on the youth's peerless face. It was like the snow on a mountaintop that had been frozen all year round was slowly melting, revealing that absolutely gorgeous scene. Chapter 2646. Young martial uncle is from our Xiaoyao sect. You're jealous. The whole place falls into a strange silence. Everyone's eyes are focused on the man in black. In the big array below, Guan suddenly covers her mouth and lets out a muffled scream. Oh my God! Young Master Yin Xiao. Her head is dizzy and she almost faints. In the end, what virtue or ability did she have to be able to see her idol Jun Mayan, the great god Jun, and also her most admired young master Yin Xiao in this life? The other women, especially those who have just been captured by Fusong City's bastards and whose spirits haven't been completely destroyed yet, their reactions are exactly the same as Guoyun's. If the women below are screaming excitedly. As for Li Anyang and the others, they couldn't be more shocked. The Xiojin continent's #1 swordsman, Luo Yinxiao. The legendary #1 expert, #1 handsome man with unfathomable strength, who has never been defeated, who is regarded as the dream lover of countless women. Young Master Yinxiao, why is he here? Ling Yuxing's back can still feel the piercing pain from his sword energy. He's already prepared to protect his little sister and third brother, even at the cost of his life. At this time, he realizes that he's unharmed. When he turns around, there's still a trace of confusion on his face. When he sees that familiar figure, his breathing suddenly stagnates, and he almost blurts out, "Young martial uncle." But he quickly remembers that young martial uncle has always been alone in the Xiojin continent, always alone. He doesn't want to get involved with anyone, even if it's the Xiaoyao sect that he's nominally settled down in. In fact, before little sister appeared, the Xiaoyao sect really didn't bring any benefits to young martial uncle. On the contrary, they received a lot of pointers and crystals from young martial uncle. Thinking that young martial uncle never really acknowledged them, Ling Yuxing's heart is filled with disappointment. However, He also made up his mind to never expose the relationship between young martial uncle and the Xiaoyao sect, and not to cause more trouble for young martial uncle. The other people of the Xiaoyao sect obviously have the same idea as Ling Yuxing. The two carefree people like Luo Yu and Lung Yumal want to call out young martial uncle the moment they see Luo Yunxiao. But in the end, they forcibly hold it back. Even if the relationship between Mu Yin and Luo Yunxiao is very close, teacher and friend, at this time, she is also silent. It was as if she didn't know Luo Yunxiao at all, and was just shocked by this sudden turn of events. Li Anyang had also recovered from his shock. He looked at Luo Yunxiao with an expression of anger and unwillingness. But so what if he was unwilling? How powerful was young Master Yunxiao? Let's put it this way. In the Ziyun realm, there was a ranking that represented the strongest strength, and it was called the Green Sky List. Someone like the Dingwa Marquis, Chu Xinyan, could only be ranked 3rd. Dragon Ascension Academy's Elder Kong Yuanjiao, an advanced tribulation passing cultivator, was only ranked 8th. As for the Green Sky Roll, they did not dare to put Luo Yunxiao's name on it. This was because no one had ever seen this person in action. No one knew how unfathomable his true strength was. Against the unfettered 7, they could rely on their numbers to forcefully seize the treasures. But facing young Master Yun Xiao, Li Anyang looked around him and saw that the cultivators who had been ferocious and confident just a moment ago had expressions of fear on their faces. Their gazes were timid, and they looked like they were ready to run away at any moment. How could they fight this kind of battle? There was no need to even try. It was already a crushing defeat. Chapter 2647. Little Martial Uncle is from the Xiaoyao school. Are you jealous? However, the Grand Array had flown away just like that, and he had even sustained heavy injuries. How could Li Anyang be willing to go for wool and come home shorn? Li Anyang laughed dryly. Young Master Yunxiao, I've heard a lot about you. I don't know why you've come to the western continent of the Purple Cloud World. Could it be that you've taken a fancy to the Fusong City's great city protecting array? Haha, I must be joking. Young Master Yunxiao, what kind of status do you have? How could you fancy a mirror? Halfway through his words, he met Luo Yunxiao's emotionless eyes. Li Anyang's voice stopped abruptly. The young man hovering in the air was dressed in the simplest of clothes and attire. However, her appearance was truly like the orchids, jade trees, bright moon in one's bosom. There was not a single part of her that wasn't perfect, and there was not a single part of her that wasn't stunning. The faces of the female cultivators who came along with them were already blushing, and their eyes were filled with infatuation. Even the eyes of a few of the male cultivators shone brightly, as if they had seen their most worshipped idol, their cheeks flushed red, eager to rush forward. But Li Anyang felt his scalp go numb when he was stared at by those ink-black eyes. A sense of extreme fear welled up in his heart, making his hair stand on end. He quivered all over and immediately corrected himself. Since it's something that young Master Yunxiao has taken a fancy to, how can we have the cheek to snatch it from you? Ha ha ha. But now the East, the thing is still in that woman Junmai's hands. If young Master Yunxiao wants to take it, it would be as easy as flipping his hand. Then we'll take our leave first. After saying that, he waved his hand without hesitation and was about to leave with the Lofty Mountain sect. However, in the next moment, a clear and low voice resounded. In an instant, Li Anyang's movements were frozen. You hurt people of the Xiaoyao school, and you still want to leave? Where do you want to go? If it's the Netherworld, I can send you there. As soon as he said this, everyone's eyes widened in disbelief. Some people even wanted to dig their ears to see if there was something wrong with their ears, and if they were hallucinating. What did young Master Yunxiao just say? You heard a member of the Xiaoyao school? Who in the cultivation continent did not know that young Master Yunxiao was a lone swordsman? But now he said the 7 disciples of the Xiaoyao sect were also shocked beyond belief. Luo Yu blinked, then blinked again. He couldn't help it anymore and called out softly, Little Martial Uncle. The other 6 people also seemed to be touched by him and suddenly came back to their senses. They all flew in front of Luo Yunxiao and looked at her with hope and fear. Their eyes were wide open, and their lips squirmed a few times, but no words came out. Luo Yunxiao couldn't help but frown when she saw them like this. "How are your injuries?" When he said this, the killing intent around him became even stronger. Luo Yu, Lung Umo, and Ling Yuxing seemed to be unable to hold it in any longer as their eyes reddened. "Little Martial Uncle, you're willing to acknowledge us? Little Martial Uncle, you don't despise us?" Luo Yunxiao retracts her gaze from mine. Seeing their teary eyes, she snappily says, "What nonsense are you talking about?" He had never been unwilling to admit that he was the young martial uncle of the Xiaoyao sect. It was even more impossible for him to despise them. He was just too afraid to invest his feelings in something and ultimately cause them to be doomed eternally. Luo Yunxiao clenched her hands that were hanging by her side. She wanted to say a few words of alienation. Chapter 2648. Little Uncle Master is from the Xiaoyao sect. Are you jealous? Unexpectedly, Luo Yu couldn't hold it in anymore. She rushed over and hugged Luo Yunxiao's arm. "Boo-hoo, Little Uncle Master, we thought you despised the Xiaoyao sect and us. After all, we'll only cause trouble for you." Lung Yuma immediately complained, "Little Uncle Master, these bastards helped the wicked and wanted to steal little junior sister's things. They almost killed Xiaowu just now." "Qinjiu, Little Uncle Master, beat them." Luo Yunxiao's face darkened. She broke free from Luo Yu and wanted to take a few steps back. Unexpectedly, Ling Yuxing and Lung Yuma immediately came over happily. All 3 of them were injured. They looked at Luo Yunxiao with eyes full of admiration, making it hard for others to tell them to get lost. For a moment, Luo Yunxiao was caught in a dilemma. A rare crack appeared on his handsome face, which was usually indifferent. Mayan couldn't help but help Chu Moli to join in the fun. Third senior brother was weak in the first place. Now that he was seriously injured by them, I don't know if he'll still have the strength to fight trash in the future. "Little Uncle Master, you can't let these trash go so easily. You must make them pay. If they don't pay until they go bankrupt, they'll be looking down on our Xiaoyao sect." Chu Moli, Luo Yunxiao, the Western continent cultivators of the Purple Cloud realm recovered from their shock and trembled in fear. Li Anyang screamed in disbelief after a while. "What kind of joke is this? Where did the Xiaoyao sect come from? I've never even heard of it before. How can young Master Yunxiao be from the Xiaoyao sect?" Luo Yu spat and made a face. "My little Uncle Master is the real deal. How is he not from the Xiaoyao sect? Old dog, you're jealous. Just say it." Before she could finish, Yin Ruhan smacked her head and said unhappily, "Don't be so rude." She couldn't let the little ones hang out with Bai Xie in the future. Her words were getting more and more shameless. Fortunately, Bai Xie left with Xiao Bao. Otherwise, who knew what would happen to Xiao Qi and the others? After taking pictures of Luo Yu, Yin Ruhan stepped forward and cupped her hands calmly. "Allow me to formally introduce her to everyone. I am Yin Ruhan, the head disciple of the Carefree School in the Azure Cloud World." Then, he pointed at Qinjiu. "Second junior brother, Qinjiu. Third junior brother, Chu Moli. Fourth junior sister, Lung Yuma. Fifth junior brother, Ling Yuxing. Junior sister, Jun Mayan. Seventh junior brother, Lanu." After introducing Mayan's group of 7, Yin Ruhan returns to Luo Yunxiao's side, her expression becoming more and more respectful. However, there was an unconcealable pride and honor between his brows. "There are a total of 9 people in the Carefree Society. Other than the 7 of us, there are only Master Shiqing and Junior Sect Uncle Luo Yunxiao." After a pause, Yin Ruhan looked at the crowd and declared loudly, "Uncle Master, you're a member of the Xiaoyao sect. There's no doubt about it." Everyone was dumbfounded. Muyin couldn't help but burst out laughing. Meeting Luo Yunxiao's gaze, Muyin smiled and looked back at her. She lowered her voice and said, Eldest senior brother looked steady and reliable, but I didn't expect him to be the same as Luo Yu and the others. In the past, everyone thought that you didn't like us and the Xiaoyao sect, so we all endured it. Now that we know that you've always treated us as your juniors, as your family, we can't hold it in anymore. Chapter 2649. Little Martial Uncle is from the Xiaoyao school. Are you jealous? 4. Asking for tickets. The girl's eyes were beautiful like peach blossoms. When she smiled, the corners of her eyes were like rippling water, like a lake reflecting the stars in the sky, making people unconsciously intoxicated. Little Martial Uncle, don't be angry. Everyone was just too excited. We wanted to tell the whole world that you are a member of our Xiaoyao school, the Little Martial Uncle of our Xiaoyao 7. Luo Yunxiao suddenly lowered his eyes, as if he was hiding from some scourge, hiding his almost overflowing emotions. Mu Yin thought he was shy, so she couldn't help but smile even more happily. The others are naturally martial nephews, but it's not necessarily so for someone. Suddenly, she heard a voice so low that it was almost inaudible. Mu Yin turned around and saw that Chu Moli had gotten his wheelchair back at some point, sitting on it with a leisurely expression. But his pale face showed that he had just been seriously injured. Mu Yin asked doubtfully, "Third senior brother, what did you just say? Did your internal injuries flare up? Let me take a look for you." Chu Moli raised his head and met Luo Yunxiao's cold warning eyes. He couldn't help but smile. "It's nothing. I'm just lamenting that from now on, our Xiaoyao school is going to be famous. From now on, as long as what happened here spread throughout the cultivation continent, those who wanted to join the Xiaoyao school would probably flatten the entire Merak Mountains. TSK. I wonder if my master in the Azure Cloud world can handle it." Luo Yinxiao didn't fool around with him anymore. Instead, he flew forward and looked at Li Anyang and the others with an indifferent expression. "Which hand did you use to hurt our Xiaoyao school's people? Break it yourself, leave all your storage tools, and leave." Li Anyang and the others' expressions changed. "Young Master Yinxiao, are you going to bully us?" Luo Yunxiao said indifferently. "So what? I don't have time to waste with you. Do it yourselves, or do it yourself. Choose." As soon as he finished speaking, 4 rays of light shot out from his palm and flew into the air. Mu Yan's pupils suddenly shrank. Natal swords. It seemed that Qi Huang didn't lie to her. Little Martial Uncle really had a lot of natal swords. Moreover, just these 4 swords emitted a terrifying aura that she couldn't even hope to catch up to. How powerful was Little Martial Uncle's strength? While Mayan is still in shock, the 4 swords in the sky suddenly begin to separate. They turn into thousands of densely packed long swords, completely sealing off Li Anyang's group's path. For a moment, everyone was anxious and uneasy. The faces of those who had injured Mu Yin and the others were even paler, their eyes filled with fear. Li Anyang gritted his teeth and said, "The 7 of you from the Xiaoyao sect are all fine. We didn't take advantage of you." Does young Master Yin Xiao really want to go overboard and exterminate all of us? Luo Yunxiao said indifferently. "Is this your choice?" Buzz, buzz, buzz. The long swords in the sky buzzed. The people who were surrounded by the long swords were scared out of their wits. No. Don't kill us. Don't kill us. Li Anyang is Li Anyang. We are us. We are willing to listen. We didn't hurt anyone just now. Please have mercy, young Master Yin Xiao. Li Anyang's face was twisted, his eyes filled with hatred and fear. Compared to a hand and all his possessions, his life was of course more important. Just as Li Anyang was about to open his mouth to speak, a ray of light suddenly shot over from the horizon. Because of the powerful energy fluctuations in the sky, the white clouds were rolling and the wind was howling. It was very obvious that the person who came was extremely powerful. Protective Little Martial Uncle, I love it to death, sob, sob, sob. Chapter 2650. Leave no one alive? 3. Ning Su laughed coldly, his eyes full of murderous intent. Fusang City is full of beasts who have turned into demons. You help the wicked and are the claws of the demons. You deserve to be killed too. As soon as he finished speaking, a sword gleam shot out of his body and pierced through Li Anyang's chest. Li Anyang's eyes widened, and he looked down with his mouth slightly agape. What he saw was a huge hole in his chest and a shattered heart. He opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood. His body fell from midair. The long sword was not stained with a drop of blood. It spun in the air and returned to Ning Su's hand. He was full of murderous intent as he pointed the tip of his sword at the crowd. You claws of the demon race, do you want to end yourselves or die under my demon-slaying sword? The cultivators present looked at Ning Su, who was like an Azura, god of death, and then at Li Anyang, who had already breathed his last. They were scared out of their wits. They knelt down on the flying sword and the flying boat with a thud. Young Master Ning, spare us, spare us. We are willing to listen to young Master Yin Shao and cut off one of our arms and offer up all our assets. Please spare our lowly lives. There were men and women, old and young, among the people kneeling on the ground. They were truly scared out of their wits. All the color drained from their faces, and their eyes were filled with fear. The strength of their kowtows was frightening. Some of them had low levels of cultivation and were physically weak. Their faces were already covered in blood. The female cultivators were crying and begging bitterly. But faced with such a scene, Ning Su did not have a trace of pity in his eyes. Since you are not willing to end yourselves, I will have to do it myself. No, don't. Miss June, we were just blinded by greed. We won't dare to do it again. Please spare our lives. Young Master Yin Shao, we are willing to cut off one of our arms to live. We are really willing. Please save us. With that, one of the people who had injured the Xiao Yao 7 cut off his own arm with a sword. Blood splattered everywhere, but Ning Su was not moved at all. My demon-slaying sword never leaves a single demon alive. All of you die. With that said, the sword flew out and, without hesitation, cut a cultivator who had just cut off his arm in half. Even the people of the Xiao Yao sect were startled by this. Yin Ruhan frowned and finally couldn't help but say, Young Master Ning, these people are indeed in the wrong. But isn't it too much to kill them all? Forget about the sect masters and elders. But those disciples were just young men and women at the Golden Core stage. He definitely did not know the secrets of Fusang City. Today, he had only acted on the orders of his elders. Wasn't it too much to kill all of them? Ning Su said coolly, It's never too much to kill as many of the fiend race and monsters as you can. I've only killed the main culprits and let their sects go. That's already the greatest mercy I can muster. As soon as he finished speaking, his sword flew out once more, killing a few elders. For a time, the sky was filled with screams. When the long sword turned around and rushed towards a young female cultivator, there was a sudden bang in the air. Ning Su's demon-slaying sword was actually sent flying back. Another white light also shot towards Mu Yan's direction. She held the 7 Absolutes sword in her hand and spat out a mouthful of blood. Little junior sister, are you all right? Ning Su looked at Mayan in shock. What are you doing? Chapter 2651. Ownership of the Array Core. 1. Asking for votes. Mayan wipes the blood from the corner of her mouth and swallows an elixir. Only then does she look towards Ning Su. Ning Dage, it's enough. These people are not remnants of the demon race. They should pay for what they have done, but not with their lives. Ning Su frowned and said coldly, The people of Fusang City have long fallen into the demonic path. They know what Fusang City is doing, but they did not stop it. They even wanted to kill you. They should have. Big Brother Ning, I know that you are angry that they hurt me. Mu Yin laughed lightly and interrupted him. However, you have already killed all the dregs in the lead. The remaining people really do not deserve to die. My anger has subsided, so you can let them go. Ning Su was taken aback, and then he awkwardly turned his head away. He opened his mouth as if he wanted to say something, but he couldn't utter a single word. Mu Yin looked at the rest of the cultivators and said coldly, Fusang City was slaughtered by me. Jun Muyin. I don't care if it's your sect or family that wants to suppress me. I'll welcome it at any time. No, 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 I wouldn't dare. We won't do it again. Muyin waves her hand. According to what my young martial uncle said, those who have hurt my fellow apprentice brothers, leave your hands and storage equipment, and get lost. Although he had to leave behind all his treasures, even his arm. But these people seemed as if they'd been granted amnesty, and they chopped off their hands without the slightest hesitation before removing their storage rings and cosmos pouches before turning around and fleeing. They were afraid that young Master Suicide would go back on his word and kill them as if they were the remnants of the demon race. Seeing these people running away as fast as they could, only then does Mayan look at Ning Su. Ningdage, you just said that the people of Fusong City are already equivalent to turning into demons. What do you mean by that? By the way, why are you here? Ning Su seemed to have thought of something. His expression changed slightly as he said in a deep voice, Muyin, you are the one who broke through Fusong City's great formation. Is that array disc in your hands now? My nods. Ning Su hurriedly said, hurry up and give that thing to me. The evil aura on that thing is so strong that it can even cause the people of Fusong City to gradually fall into the devil's path. It's definitely not a good thing for you to have it, right? Muyin raised her eyebrows. Does Big Brother Ning know what Fusong City's great city protecting array is? 10 ultimate formation of the myriad caves. Ning Su said slowly. Luo Yunxiao's pupils constricted. Ning Su continued. I was originally in the northern continent of the Purple Cloud world, but I rushed over because I sensed the aura of the 10 terminal formation of the 1,000 caves. This monster. Ning Su gritted his teeth when he said the word demonic creatures. Back when I was floating in the sky, I wanted to destroy all the demonic creatures, but this 10 terminal formation of the 1,000 deep caves was the only one I couldn't find no matter how hard I tried. I never thought that it would end up in the cultivation world and cause trouble. Ning Su stretched out his hand and said anxiously, Muyin, give me the arrayed disc of the myriad cave formation. That's not an ordinary formation plate. For a demonic formation like the myriad deep cave formation, the formation core and the formation plate have already fused together. It even has its own consciousness. Leave him to me. I'll deal with him. Muyin frowned, a hint of hesitation on her face. She pulled out her hand and pinched the yellow disc in her palm. Ning Su's eyes lit up when he saw the yellow disc. However, it wasn't passion or greed, but deep hatred. He couldn't wait for Muyin to hand it over to him. He reached out to snatch it. However, before his hand could touch the yellow disc, something was thrown out. An object was thrown out from the side and hit the back of his hand, causing it to deviate by 2 inches. Why did you guys think that it was Jun Shang who came? Jun Shang's appearance is bound to be glorious. How could it be Jun Shang style to come out and show off when the dust has already settled? But don't worry, Jun Shang will be here soon. Let's go to the Shiraba. There are always unruly people who covet Jun Shang's wife. Chapter 2652. Chu Moli sat in his wheelchair and played with the jade pendant in his hand. He looked at Ning Su with a faint smile and said, Young Master Jueming, we were the ones who discovered the evil deeds in Fusong City. My junior sister risked her life to break the 10 ultimate formation of 1,000 deep caves. Now, you want to take it away so easily just by saying that it's unlucky? Isn't that a little too much? Ning Su looked at Chu Moli coldly. The killing intent he had gained from slaughtering tens of thousands of demons was released without reservation. Chu Moli's face was pale, but the smile on his face was still gentle, as if he wasn't affected at all. Ning Su was slightly surprised and was about to go closer to take a look. Muyin stepped forward and blocked Chu Moli's way. She smiled faintly and said, Big Brother Ning, I'm sorry, but I've already promised to give the formation disc of the myriad cave formation to someone else. Ning Su frowned immediately. This evil item will only cause disaster no matter who gets it. It will tempt people to become demons. I'm the only one who can get rid of it. Muyin shook her head. The myriad cave formation is just an item. Whether it's tainted with demonic energy or spiritual energy, There's no difference between good and bad. Those who use spirit artifacts have evil intentions and can still help the evildoer. No matter how evil the demonic item is, as long as the person using it is strong enough and has a strong enough heart, he won't be bewitched. Moreover, you said that it will cause disaster no matter who gets it. I don't agree with that. At least I know that it won't do evil in my hands. It won't do evil in my junior martial uncle's hands either. Then, she turned around and walked to Luo Yunxiao. She handed the disc in her hand to her. Junior martial uncle, this is for you. Luo Yunxiao's pupils constricted as she stared at Mu Yan. Qi Ji's voice in the spiritual pet pouch was chattering nonstop. It was so close, yet so far away. Master, are you crazy? Hurry up and ask Mei Yin Yan for the formation disc. What if this Ning guy really takes it away? Ah, Mei Yin Yan, what kind of goddess are you? Master, Mei Yin Yan knows that you want the core of the myriad cave formation. How did she find out? Hurry up and take it. Faster, Master. Are you still going to be unreasonable at a time like this? Are you going to let down Mei Yin Yan's good intentions? Luo Yunxiao clenched her fists to calm herself down. Why are you giving it to me? Mayan smiles with an innocent look on her face. I saw that junior martial uncle had been staring at me since I took out the array disc. I believe the core of the myriad deep cave formation is very useful to you, right? Of course, she didn't notice if Luo Yunxiao was looking at the disc of the myriad deep caves formation. The person who told her this information was Qi Huang, who had always disliked youngest martial uncle. It was Qi Huang who told her that her junior uncle was looking for a lot of things, and the myriad deep cave formation disc was one of the most important ones. But when Muyan asked him how he knew and why was little martial uncle looking for these things, but Qi Huang refused to say anything. Even the people of the Xiao Yao sect didn't know about the young martial uncle's secret, but Qi Huang knew it clearly. Only a ghost would believe that there was no relationship between the two of them. Qi Huang, shut up. Who has anything to do with that pretty boy? I just don't like people surnamed Ning even more. Get out of here. Mayan held back her laughter and didn't expose this guy. Chapter 2653. She brings the thing in her hand to Luo Yunxiao again. Junior Master? Puff. Before Luo Yunxiao can move, a grotesque beast pounces out of the void and directly grabs the disc in Mu Yan's hand. Oh, whoa. Mei Yin Yan, you're the best. How did you know that this is what Master needs the most? Master is unable to repay your great kindness. Let him repay you with his body. After saying that, it hugs the disc with its claws and directly puts it into its spiritual pet space. After that, Qi-Wen looks up at Luo Yunxiao and says excitedly, Master, that's great. We finally have one more thing to collect. We're one step closer to success. After saying that, without waiting for Luo Yunxiao's response, it rushes to Mu Yin and pounces into her arms. This time, this perverted dragon has no intention of taking advantage of them. Instead, it is full of gratitude and happiness. Mei Yin Yan, you don't know how hard it is for me and Master to find these things. Year after year, decade after decade, there is no end. I thought that the most important ones would never be found again. Who knew? At this time, even Mu Yin stops teasing her. When she heard Qi Huang say that Junior Master is looking for something, she didn't feel anything. But Qi Wen's words make her suddenly realize something. Junior Master is always not in the Xiaoyao sect, and very few people know of his whereabouts. Occasionally, there are bits of news in the Tianguang ruins, and those cultivators vaguely find traces of him in the most dangerous and remote mountains. In the past, I didn't know why. Now, they finally understand that Junior Master is looking for something. Muyan looks at Luo Yunxiao. Junior Master, what are you looking for? Tell us. We can help you look for it. Yes. There is strength in numbers. Luo Yu says, and our luck is very good, especially Junior Sister and Xiao Bao. If we look for it together, maybe we can help you find it soon? Yin Rehan, Master once said that Junior Master stayed in the Xiojin continent to find a person and something. In the past, we were too weak. Even if we wanted to help little Marshall Uncle, we couldn't. But now, we are slowly becoming stronger. Since Junior's sister was able to find the disk of the Myriad Deep Cave Formation, we'll be able to help you find something else next time. Chi Wen's eyes were filled with obvious hope. She blinked her green beady eyes at Luo Yunxiao. Master, I think the little bastard is right. Do you want to at least make Du Qian 12? No need. Luo Yunxiao interrupted Chi Wen's words without any hesitation. I will find what I want to find myself. I don't need you to get involved. If you want to help me find what I want, you have to survive the real blood-slaughtering sword formation first. Luo Yunxiao had always been indifferent and amiable. When she wasn't angry or imposing, she was like a piece of warm and translucent jade. It was intoxicating, making one yearn to get close to it, but not much reverence. However, as soon as he said those words with a stern face, the unquestionable pressure seemed to cover the sky and cover the earth. This kind of pressure was even much stronger than the pressure Ning Su had released towards Chu Moli earlier. The people of the Xiaoyao sect were used to being oppressed by Luo Yunxiao. They instantly fell silent out of fear. Even Mu Yin shrunk her neck. The so-called real blood-slaughtering sword formation was formed when 1,800 streams of sword energy were activated at the same time. Chapter 2654. The true blood-slaughtering sword formation was formed when 1,800 sword chi were activated at the same time. That kind of destruction to the sword intent was even more terrifying than divine lightning striking a human body. Mu Yin had already cultivated the heart of the sword and the natal sword, but she didn't dare say that she could challenge 1,800 sword chi, not to mention the other people in the Xiaoyao sect. Luo Yunxiao reached out and grabbed Chi Wen in her hand. With a flip of her hand, a yellow disc appeared in her palm. Luo Yunxiao looked down at the core of the Myriad Caves formation, which was emitting a faint murderous aura. She didn't know what kind of emotions were surging in her heart. It was as if that deep sigh and indistinct voice rang in his ears again. The divination shows that your only chance is someone who can trigger. That's your luck, your fate, but also your calamity, or maybe it's not your calamity, but that person's eternal damnation. Yunxiao, this is all I can do for you. I'll hand the Tianguang ruins over to you. Go find your chance of survival. No matter what, you have to fight for your life. Luo Yunxiao closed her eyes and clenched the disc in her hand. He looked at Mu Yin and said in a hoarse voice, I'll take the disc of the Myriad Caves formation. Thank. Mu Yin raised her eyebrows. Junior Master, if you say thank you, you're treating us like outsiders. She paused and suddenly thought of something. Oh, since little Marshall Uncle wants to treat me like an outsider, shouldn't I return this thing to you? After all, this thing is much more important than the disk of the Myriad Caves formation. With that, she raised her hand and a translucent green sword appeared in her palm. Mu Yin looked straight at Luo Yunxiao and said slowly, Junior Master, how can you give away something as important as a life and death sword so casually? I think it's better to take it back. Yin Ruhan and the others were shocked when they heard that. Luo Yu and the others were fine. They just sighed that Junior Master doted on Mu Yin the most. After all, she was the only disciple that he taught personally. Yin Ruhan, who knew the truth, couldn't help but glance at Chu Moli. Only when she saw Chu Moli making a shush gesture with a smile did she forcibly swallow back the words she was about to say. Luo Yunxiao stretched out his hand and lightly placed his slender and fair fingers on the jasper sword. Just when Mu Yin thought that he was going to take it back, a green light floated out from the Dragon Abyss sword, shooting into Luo Yunxiao's body. Luo Yunxiao said, I gave you the Dragon Abyss sword, not only to help you condense the heart of the sword, but also to refine the sword will of the Dragon Abyss sword. Of course, if you feel that this is not appropriate, then I will take back the Dragon Abyss sword. After pausing for a while, he continued, I didn't discuss it with you before using the Dragon Abyss sword to absorb the essence of your sword intent. I'm very sorry. Mu Yin was a little dumbfounded. Is that so? She asked in her heart. Chi Huang, youngest martial uncle, didn't deceive me. Chi Huang snorted. Damn it, I don't know if this pretty boy did it on purpose or not. I thought that he gave you the Dragon Abyss sword for your own good, but I didn't think that he would take advantage of it in the end. You ignorant woman, haven't you heard of using the body to nurture the sword, using the soul to nurture the sword? But in this world, there are far too few sword hearts that can reach this level. And if you nurture your own sword with someone else, if it's broken, the owner of the sword will be heavily injured. Other people just won't do it. Chapter 2655. Am I imagining things again? 3. You help him raise his natal sword. When the sword soul is completely condensed, he will have a holy sword as his natal magic weapon. Damn it, he really made a fortune. Chi Huang said, stomping his feet in anger. No, the more I think about it, the angrier I get. I always feel that we are at a disadvantage. Give that broken natal sword back to him. Mu Yin rolls her eyes and directly cuts off the connection with Chi Huang. Just as Luo Yunxiao reaches out to take back the Dragon Abyss sword, she quickly lets go and says with a hollow laugh, I will continue to raise it, continue to raise it. In fact, with the Dragon Abyss sword of youngest martial uncle by her side, every time she uses this sword technique, she can absorb an endless stream of sword intent from the Dragon Abyss sword. These sword intents cannot be used directly by her, but they will help her practice the essence of the sword technique over and over again, condensing her sword heart. Otherwise, even if she has the Shun musician skill to level up, how could she have her own natal sword so quickly? Originally, she thought that the youngest martial uncle was too good to her, so good that it made her feel uneasy. Now it seems that she is overthinking again. A mutually beneficial thing. Whoever doesn't do it is a fool. Chiwen looks at the indifferent Luo Yunxiao, then at Mu Yin, and rolls her eyes. In the past, the master had a face that could turn all living things upside down, but in terms of chasing girls, he really has no talent at all. That Dragon Abyss sword is clearly the master's most important natal sword. How much risk would it take to put it in other people's hands? He said to raise the sword, but with the master's current cultivation in the way of the sword, why can't he raise it? At this time, shouldn't he show his own contribution? Stupid master. Idiot master. With your stupid appearance, it would be strange if you could chase the girl you love. Mei Yin Yin is so good, so fragrant, so beautiful. It would be a pity to let others take advantage of her. Thinking about it, Chi-Wen becomes sad, and once again pounces on Mu Yin. Mei Yin Yin, I don't want to live with this stupid master. I don't want to follow him. I want to follow you in the future. Mei Yin Yin, I need your loving kiss to recover. Chi-Wen pouts as she flies to Mu Yin. However, before he can pounce on Mu Yin, Luo Yunxiao grabs him from the air. Luo Yunxiao looked at the people from the Xiaoyao sect and said, I have something to do, so I'll leave first. You guys take care. Chi-Wen bared her fangs and brandished her claws as she screamed, I don't want to go. I want to be with Mei Yin Yin. I haven't let Mei Yin Yin hug and kiss me in such a long time. Luo Yunxiao flattened it in her palm and was about to put it into the spirit beast bag. Ning Su's cold voice sounded from the side. Wait, you can't leave yet. Ning Su walked forward step by step. His sharp gaze shifted from Luo Yunxiao to Chi-Wen's hand. If I'm not wrong, your spiritual pet isn't a spiritual beast, but a magical beast. These words made Mu Yin and the others reveal astonished expressions. Chi-Wen was a magical beast? However, it seemed that he was indeed different from ordinary spirit beasts. But it didn't seem like it was surrounded by demonic chi and baleful chi like the other magical beasts. Ning Su, its level is too high, and it used a camouflage technique, so I didn't notice it before. This is a magical beast, and a high-level one at that. Am I right or not? Luo Yunxiao's expression didn't change in the slightest. Her voice was faint, but exceptionally pleasant. So what if it is? Ning Su sneered. If it's a magical beast, then it should be killed. Come, do you want to make a bet? Young martial uncle vs. young master suicide. Chapter 2656. Young Uncle Master and Sir Suicide were fighting. 1. Ning Su snickered. Magical beasts deserve to be killed. After saying that, a strong murderous intent surged out of Ning Su's body. His eyes were also dyed with a scarlet red that bordered on madness. The demon-slaying sword that he had put away suddenly appeared in his hand, and there was a spark on the tip of the sword. The air around him was tainted by this flame, and it was as if something was burning. It made crackling sound from time to time. The strong pressure and murderous intent made Yun Ruhan and the others turn pale and unable to stand still. Even the female cultivators hiding in the formation were trembling and retreating. Just from this alone, one could tell how powerful Ning Su was. It was obvious that he was far more powerful than a normal tribulation cultivator. However, Luo Yunxiao, who was right in front of Ning Su, didn't change her expression at all. She just calmly put Qi Wen into the spirit beast pouch. Before she was stuffed in, Qi Wen popped her head out and shouted, "So what if I'm a magical beast? Did I eat your rice? I've never killed an innocent person. Why do you have to yell at me? I think you're shameless, dog. You're jealous of Mei Yin Yin for being nice to my master, right? Haha. Mei Yin Yin just won't give you the core of the Myriad Cave formation. I'm gonna piss you off." Smack! Luo Yunxiao stuffed Qi Wen into the spirit beast pouch without hesitation, cutting off her incessant chatter. Ning Su's face was completely dark. It wasn't because he was angered by Qi Wen's words, but because he truly hated all demonic beings to the bone. He hadn't attacked Luo Yunxiao yet because, "Sir Yunxiao, you are Mu Yan's Uncle Master. I don't want to make things difficult for you. But magical beasts are magical beasts. As long as they are given time to grow, they will harm the human world sooner or later. And the disk of the Myriad Cave formation, no matter how strong an ordinary person is, will gradually be eroded by the malevolent energy in their hands. I don't want to kill you and make Mu Yin sad, but I swore that I would kill all the magical beasts in the world. If you refuse to come to your senses, then don't blame me for being impolite." A cool breeze ruffled the man's black hair and green robes. Under the sunlight, that figure, that face really was like a pine tree in the snow, cold and clear, peerless. It was no wonder that so many women in the world were infatuated with young Master Yin Xiao. But who would have thought that this immortal-like young Master Yin Xiao actually kept a dangerous magical beast close to him? He even wanted to collect the 10-terminal formation of 1,000 deep caves. The more such a person fell into the demonic path, the more they would be able to lure tens of thousands of living beings into it, and the harm they would cause would be immeasurable, just like that demon in the past. She had destroyed everything for him and taken away everything he valued. Let him live in hell from now on, forever sinking into depravity. The redness in Ning Su's eyes grew hotter and hotter. He stared at the man in front of him, and a blatant killing intent emanated from him. "I'll ask you again. Are you going to hand over the demonic beast and the array core?" Under the sunlight, the green-robed man's expression was normal, and his tone was still calm. "No." The spiritual power in Ning Su's body surged, and the demon-slaying sword let out an ear-piercing hum. "All right, then I will kill you, so that the demonic beast and the malevolent array core can no longer hide." Before he finished speaking, the demon-slaying sword had already turned into a ray of light and rushed towards Luo Yunxiao. Luo Yunxiao stood still, but 3 swords suddenly appeared behind her. Chapter 2657. Young Uncle Master versus Sir Suicide Messenger. They're fighting, too. The sword trembled, turning into countless afterimages, forming a sword shield, directly blocking the demon-slaying sword's attack. The man's elegant and melodious voice resounded between heaven and earth. "That depends on whether you have the ability to kill it or not." The two strong met on the battlefield. In an instant, the entire sky above Fusong City was filled with sword energy. Fusong City, which had already been almost destroyed, collapsed even more. Mu Yin and the rest had already hidden in the formation. Only the 9 Palace 8 Trigrams formation, that Mu Yin had set up was not affected by the battle. Looking at the two fighting in the sky, Luo Yu could not help but sigh. Brother Ning's attitude towards killing the demon race can be said to be paranoid. Lung Yuma, little junior sister, aren't you worried when these two fight? Mu Yin took the tea that Enchantress handed over and took a sip, saying slowly, Brother Ning can't hurt young Uncle Master. Young Uncle Master always knows his limits. What am I worried about? Hee, that's true. Let's just watch from the sidelines. This kind of battle is hard to come by in 1,000 years. Sir Yun Zhao's name spread far and wide throughout the Xiozhen continent. Because of the title of #1 swordsman, many people wanted to challenge him to make a name for themselves. In the end, these people were all defeated by Luo Yunxiao's sword. However, there had never been news of Luo Yunxiao killing anyone who challenged him. On the contrary, those who encountered danger deep in the mountains would occasionally be saved by Luo Yunxiao. This was also one of the reasons why Sir Yun Zhao's reputation and prestige grew, and there were more and more people who liked him. The situation was as Mu Yin expected. Although Ning Su was strong, compared to Luo Yunxiao, he was still far from it. Luo Yunxiao only used 3 natal swords to tire Ning Su out, and he was unable to defend. According to Qi Huang, young Uncle Master had at least a dozen natal swords. If Luo Yunxiao really wanted to kill Ning Su, he would have been riddled with holes by now. In the 9 Palace 8 trigrams formation, the female cultivators who were originally trembling in fear from the sword battle. At this moment, they looked up at the sky excitedly, their eyes filled with infatuation as they screamed. Young Master Yunxiao is really too handsome. My little junior sister used to keep saying that young Master Yunxiao is unparalleled in the world, but I didn't think much of it and scolded her for being infatuated. Now that she had seen him with her own eyes, she realized that there was actually such a perfect man in this world. I'm going to faint. Guo Yun's face flushed with excitement. Aren't the great god Jun and the Xiao Yao sect the most powerful ones? Heavens, so young Master Yunxiao is also from the Xiao Yao sect. What kind of godly place is this Xiao Yao school? Brother Yuanbua, when we get back, we'll immediately apply to join the Xiao Yao sect. The ones who screamed were the young girls who had just been caught and brought to Fusang City. As for Enchantress, Zhu Wan, and the others, after experiencing all that filth and depravity, they had long become indifferent to everything in the world. Towards men, she was even more repulsed. But when he saw the battle between Luo Yunxiao and Ning Su, he couldn't help but be amazed. It wasn't because of his appearance, but because of his terrifying strength. Zhu Wan looks at Mayan and says sincerely, only such an outstanding man is worthy of great god Jun. Enchantress could not help but nod. Both of them are meticulous and observant people. Plus, all their attention has been on Mayan, so it's easy to see that when Luo Yunxiao looks at Mayan, there's a hidden affection in her eyes. Chapter 2658. Ning Su, who has lost his mind. 1. Mu Yin looked at the two of them in confusion. What nonsense are you talking about? That's my junior martial uncle. What do you mean I'm not worthy? Do you want me to commit incest? Luo Yu and the others also laughed when they heard that. They completely didn't see Yun Ruhan's sigh of distress. Luo Yu was about to explain that Sixth Sister belongs to instructor Imo. Suddenly, a muffled sound came from the sky. A figure fell from the sky and fell to the ground, spitting out a mouthful of blood. Mu Yin walked out of the 9 Palace 8 trigrams formation and looked at Ning Su on the ground. Brother Ning, are you all right? She saw that Sir Suicide's hair was in a mess, his clothes were torn in several places, and there were traces of blood at the corner of his mouth. Although his injuries weren't serious, he cut a sorry figure. Mu Yin smacked her lips. Isn't Junior Martial Uncle a bit ruthless? As they spoke, Luo Yunxiao also slowly descended from the sky and stood in front of Mu Yin. The black-robed swordsman's expression was as usual, elegant as ever. Even his hair wasn't messed up. Seeing that Mu Yin took out the elixir for Ning Su, he didn't continue to attack, nor did he show any displeased expression. He just stood at the side. Luo Yu, who originally wanted to explain to Zhu Wan and the others, also walked out of the 9 Palisade trigrams formation and surrounded Luo Yinxiao. Chiwen popped her head out. Humph, you can't even beat Laozi's master's 3 swords, and you still have the nerve to kill Laozi. You're not deliberately trying to hurt yourself to attract Mei Yan's attention, are you? I'm telling you, with that face of yours, stop dreaming. Mei Yan won't ugh. Before he could finish, Luo Yunxiao pressed him back. Mu Yin crouched down and brought the elixir to Ning Su, saying softly, Brother Ning, not everything in this world is black and white. There are demons that are bad, and naturally, there are also good ones. Just like spirit cultivators, there are also good and bad people. Isn't it a bit too extreme for you to kill all the demons with a stick? Halfway through her words, she was suddenly gripped by her wrist. His cold, blood-stained fingers were like a pair of iron pincers that gripped her tightly. It was as if he wanted to crush her bones. Mu Yin raised her head in astonishment, but what she saw was Ning Su's bloodthirsty crimson eyes that were close to insanity. Why are you speaking for the demon clan? You're going to abandon me for that demon? Abandon the Ning family? Why? Why did you betray the Ning family? Mayan seems to hear the bones in her wrist make a cracking sound, and a piercing pain comes through. Big brother Ning, wake up? Mu Yin endured the pain, trying to break free from Ning Su's shackles. Did you recognize the wrong person? However, her struggle made Ning Su even crazier. You want to escape. You want to run away with that devil? No, I won't allow it. The number 1 iron law of the Ning family is that those who have secret dealings with the demons die. Say you'll stay. Say you'll kill that demon with your own hands. I don't want to kill you. Don't force me to kill you with my own hands. Crimson thoroughly stains Ning Su's eyes, and a dense and cold energy rushes out of his body, heading straight for Mayan. The appearance of this cold and gloomy energy makes Mayan go blank. She seems to feel familiarity and intimacy from this energy fluctuation, but at the same time, it's incomparable terror and disgust. It's as if it's mixed with an aura that makes her feel pain and despair. Just what kind of energy is this? What relationship does she have with Ning Su? Chapter 26:59. Mayan's momentary daze makes her forget to dodge. The cold energy instantly touches the surface of her skin. In a split second, it's as if she's thrown into ice water, bone-chilling, and every drop of blood freezes. Just a little touch, and it's already as cold as hell. If that energy completely envelopes her, Mayan slightly widens her eyes and frantically mobilizes the spiritual power in her body. But it's too late, too late. At the critical moment, the sword hums. A warm, bamboo-like aura envelopes her whole body. Luo Yinxiao reaches out and pulls her away from Ning Su's shackles, shielding her behind him. However, that cold and gloomy energy seemed to be all-pervasive. It directly penetrates Luo Yunxiao's net of swords and burrows into his body. In a split second, a red light streaks across Luo Yunxiao's eyes. Young martial uncle, how are you? Mayan helplessly watches as Luo Yunxiao takes Ning Su's attack for her. She only touched a little, and she knows how uncomfortable that cold energy is. But young martial uncle has been hit so many times. Go back, Luo Yunxiao says in a hoarse voice. All 7 of you, go back to the formation. His hands are tightly clenched into fists, his nails deeply embedded in his palms, as if he's desperately trying to suppress something. At this time, Ning Su has already stood up from the ground with red eyes. His eyes are unfocused, looking at Luo Yunxiao with anger and hatred. There's a crazed, murderous intent on his face. Demonic energy. I feel demonic energy from you. You really should be killed as long as I kill you. She can live as long as I kill you. She will return to the Ning family. Demon, go to hell. With a roar, the demon's slaying sword, accompanied by a flash of blood-red light, stabs straight at Luo Yunxiao. Luo Yunxiao's figure moves, as if he wants to dodge and mobilize his natal sword. But as soon as he moves, his face goes deathly pale, and he forcibly withstands it. Poochie. That's the sound of a long, sword-piercing flesh. The demon-slaying sword directly pierces Luo Yunxiao's chest, just an inch away from his heart. Blood gushes out. The red light on the demon-slaying sword curls up into raging flames, burning the flowing blood and torn flesh. Young martial uncle. When Muyan's group of 7 saw this scene, their eyes almost split open. They no longer cared about youngest uncle's orders. They turned back from the 9 palaces in 8 trigrams formation and rushed over. Luo Yunxiao shouted, "Go back! Aren't you going to obey my orders?" But at this time, who would listen to him? Youngest martial uncle was about to lose his life. Why would he still respect his master? However, before they could get close, Ning Su stabbed out a second time. This sword strike was even more destructive and soul-stirring than the previous one. The people of the Xiao Yao sect couldn't make it in time. Even Ling Yuxing, who was the fastest among them, had yet to fully recover from his previous injuries. Only Mu Yin, who has activated the lotus blooming steps. Her figure disappeared like a bolt of lightning, and when she reappeared, she was already in front of Luo Yunxiao. Fear appears on Luo Yunxiao's usually calm face for the first time. Mayan, get out of the way. The 7 absolute swords were unleashed, and the sound of the zither filled the air. The spiritual energy, immortal energy, and dark force in his body began to circulate wildly. She hears Qi Huang's angry roar. "Zhu Mayan, you're crazy. That's the demon-slaying first strike. It's not something you can block now. If your natal sword breaks, you won't survive either." Mayan's eyes are resolute, and she has no regrets. As the sound of the zither ripples, a series of Shun musician skills are thrown out. If you haven't blocked it before, how do you know you can't? Bookmark for easier reading. Chapter 2660. Do you want to be a widow? Little martial uncle had saved her so many times. Could it be that she had to watch little martial uncle die? To her, the people of the Xiaoyao sect were her most important family. She would never allow anyone to die in front of her. Never. The demon slayer sword whistled through the air. The wind howled and the sky changed color. Mu Yin set up the divine hands, but as soon as she touched it, it was shattered by the sword aura. She spat out a mouthful of blood. In the blink of an eye, the demon slayer sword was in front of her and collided with her natal sword, the 7 deadly swords. A kind of pain and fear that even his soul felt like it was about to be crushed assaulted him. Mu Yin spat out another mouthful of blood. Her face was pale, but she didn't retreat. Behind her, Luo Yunxiao's eyes were stained with blood when she saw this. A crazy desire to kill and destroy surged out from the depths of his eyes, from his limbs, and from every inch of his skin. It was as if there was something terrifying and destructive that could no longer be sealed and was about to surge out. No one noticed this scene, but for some reason, Ning Su seemed to be more agitated. His expression was ferocious and crazy. He couldn't see that the demon slayer sword was attacking Mu Yin. With one thought, the demon-slaying sword once again swung down with unstoppable force. "Go to hell, demon. As long as I kill you, everything will be fine." Mu Yin spat out another mouthful of blood. She couldn't stand and fell to her knees. Cracks appeared on the crystal-clear 7 deadly swords. Junior sister. The people of the Xiaoyao sect were going crazy. They were only one step away, but they couldn't save their junior sister or uncle master. Even the female cultivators in the 9 palaces' 8 trigrams formation rushed out. The demon slayer sword flew up for the 3rd time and chopped down heavily on Mu Yin. Everyone had a look of despair on their faces. Zhu Wan and the others went pale and fell to their knees with a thud. Guoyun burst into tears and shouted at the top of her lungs, "Don't kill God Jun! I beg you, don't kill God Jun!" However, Ning Su had already lost his mind. He couldn't hear or see anyone. There was only his imaginary enemy in front of him. The demon-slaying sword was about to collide with the 7 absolutes sword for the 3rd time. There was no longer a trace of hesitation in Luo Yunxiao's eyes. She suddenly pressed her hand on her bleeding chest. Qi Wen's voice was so anxious and distant. "Master, you can't. Do you want to waste all your previous efforts?" Behind Luo Yu, the Bai Fong and the Bai's divine beast appeared at the same time. He no longer cared whether his identity would be discovered or not. A red light flashed behind Lung Yuma and gradually converged into a red lotus, blossoming layer by layer. The silver bow and divine arrow appeared in Chu Moli's hand once again. What was different from before was that the sword in his hand was no longer an illusory silver. Instead, it was pitch black like ink. Everyone from the Xiaoyao sect was ready to risk everything. At all costs, he would never allow them to harm Mayan. Rumble. Just at this critical moment, a blue bolt of lightning falls from the sky and turns into a barrier of light, enveloping Mayan within. Then, a dazzling blue light suddenly bloomed. With an unstoppable might, it crushed everything in its surroundings. Bang! The demon-slaying sword fell from the sky, making a buzzing sound as it fell to the ground. Bang! Ning Su was hit by the blue light and was sent flying dozens of meters away. He fainted. Bang, bang, bang. Chapter 2661. The people of the Xiaoyao sect, who had been ready, were also swept by the blue light. Bai Zhe, Bai Fong, the silver bow, and the red lotus all disappeared. Several people are thrown to the ground, looking in Mayan's direction in shock. Only Luo Yunxiao stood still, but he slowly lowered his hand from his chest, and the red in his eyes gradually faded. Looking at Mu Yin, who was surrounded by the blue light, his mouth slowly turned up. Joy and despair, gentleness and sorrow. Mu Yan's natal sword had just been formed, and it was extremely unstable. Ning Su's strength had already far surpassed the peak of the Xiojin continent. His demon-slaying sword was also a natal sword, but it was formed decades earlier than Mu Yan. How could Mu Yan resist? She was able to withstand the third attack of the demon-slaying sword because her sword heart was far more solid than other sword cultivators. As the natal sword broke bit by bit, Mu Yin felt the pain of her soul being torn apart. As Qi Huang said, her cultivation was too low, and her natal sword formed too early. Once the natal sword broke, the sword heart would collapse, and she would never be able to become a sword cultivator again. If it was bad, even her soul would be destroyed. But at this moment, it was already a matter of life and death, and she could not advance or retreat. However, just as she was about to lose hope, a powerful energy fell from the sky and enveloped her body. The warm air comforted every inch of her meridians, flowed through her dantian, and washed her soul. It caused the heart-wrenching pain to gradually disappear. Mu Yin felt as if she was wrapped in a warm embrace. This embrace was so familiar, and it made her feel at ease, making her feel happy from the bottom of her heart. In this world, there is only one embrace that could make her feel at ease and happy. Mu Yin suddenly opened her eyes wide. However, she felt that the embrace had become solid, turning into a pair of firm and strong hands and a broad chest, tightly holding her in his arms. The violent and rapid heartbeat rang in her ears, the hot breath, the sweat dripping from his chin, and the slightly trembling hands holding her, all showed how frightened the owner was. Mu Yin slowly raised her head, and suddenly met a pair of beautiful ice-blue eyes. A raging flame burned in the depths of his eyes, as if he couldn't wait to swallow her whole. Di Mingju. Mu Yin is wild with joy, hugging the person. Why are you here? Only when she saw the man in front of her did she realize how much she missed him. At this moment, she even forgets that she just experienced a crisis of life and death, and also forgets the blazing fury in Di Mingju's eyes. Immersed in the joy of reuniting after such a long time, he forgot what day it was and where he was. Di Mingju breathes in the young girl's familiar and fresh breath. His heart, which has nearly jumped out of his throat, slowly settles back to its original position. God knows how panicked he was when he first arrived at the Xiozhan continent, and sensed that Mayan's natal sword was about to shatter. The lingering fear and anger in his heart made him want to hang this disobedient woman up and teach her a lesson. However, when he saw the flower-like smile right in front of him and the undisguised joy and attachment in her peach blossom eyes, that little bit of anger is like a punctured balloon, and it almost dissipates in an instant. Diming-ju grits his teeth 3 times, and in the end, he only coldly spits out a sentence. If Ben-jun didn't come, should I just watch you court your own death? Do you want Ben-jun to be a widow without even getting married? Bookmark for easier reading. Chapter 2662. Mayan. Wait a minute, Jun Shangdaran is being widowed like this? But Muyan also knows that this time, she was really too risky, too impulsive. When the demon-slaying sword attacked for the 3rd time, she had nowhere to run. However, with his divine sense, he could clearly sense that his fellow disciples of the Xiaoyao sect were willing to disregard everything and even sacrifice their lives to save him. What made Mu Yin even more apprehensive was the junior martial uncle behind her. That faintly discernible and terrifying aura made her feel fear and unease. Mu Yin had a premonition that if he allowed this energy to completely erupt, it would definitely cause very bad consequences. The consequences were not something that anyone could bear. Fortunately, Diming-ju came. Mu Yin reaches out and hugs the man, buries her face in his chest, and says in a muffled voice, "I'm sorry. I made you worry, and thank you." Diming-ju snorts coldly, but doesn't say anything. Don't think that Ben-jun will let you off just like this. Mayan raises her head. Her eyebrows are curved, her eyes like autumn waters. Thank you for always being by my side. It must be because God saw that my previous life was too hard, so he sent you to my side in this life. She was telling the truth. Mayan thinks that perhaps God really felt that her previous life was too bitter, so he helped her keep Xiaobao, and even let her meet Diming-ju. If it was said that all the hardships and tribulations she had experienced in her previous life were all for this reunion in this life, then there was no longer any resentment in her heart, only sincere gratitude. She's grateful that she was fortunate enough to meet Diming-ju in this life, to know and love each other. She is grateful that the bitterness of the past life has been exchanged for the sweetness of this life. Sweet words directly hit the heart. Jun Shangdaran can no longer remain aloof. He only feels the blood in his entire body boiling. If there weren't so many eyesores surrounding them, he would have kissed the girl in his arms and rubbed her into his bones and blood. At this time, Yin Ruhan and the others also come back to their senses. Seeing Diming-ju embracing Mayan, each and every one of them feels that they've escaped from death, overjoyed. They surrounded him excitedly. "Minor Imo, why are you here?" "Fortunately, Instructor Imo, you came in time. You really scared us to death just now. What's wrong with this young master's suicide?" After being defeated by Junior Martial Uncle, he started to go crazy and actually wanted to kill Junior Martial Sister. Diming-ju's gaze turned cold as he looked at the unconscious Ning Su. His hair was a mess and his face was pale. Unbeknownst to him, the skin all over his body had split open inch by inch, and fresh blood gushed out from the cracks. Before long, he felt as if he was soaking in a pool of blood. Seeing Diming-ju raise his hand, Mayan promptly stops him. "Wait a minute, Diming-ju, don't kill him yet." He sees Diming-ju looking over with an unfriendly expression. She hesitated for a moment, then said in a low voice, "I think that Ning Su or the Ning family might have something to do with me." Diming-ju frowns. "Mu Yin, don't you think that Ning Su's facial features are somewhat similar to mine?" Diming-ju looked at the unconscious Ning Su with a face full of disgust. "Similar my ass. Does this trash have the qualifications to look like his yin-yin?" Mu Yin immediately understands the man's expression and can't help but laugh for a moment. Ning Su was obviously too obsessed and went berserk. He mistook little Uncle Master and me for someone else. He didn't mean to hurt me. She gently scratches Di Ming Ju's palm with her finger, lowering her voice and saying, "What's more, if Big Brother Ning really is related to my past, perhaps I can follow the clues and find my biological father?" Bookmark for easier reading. Chapter 2663. Instructor Mo's Sea of Jealousy. We're used to it, too. Di Ming Ju stares blankly, then immediately comes to his senses. Yin Yan's biological father is the bastard who arranged Yin Yan's engagement. But he has searched all over the Xiaoxin continent, turning all the 3 live stones in the polar domain upside down, and he still hasn't found the slightest clue. In this way, there are only 2 possibilities. The first is that the 3 live stone that arranged Mayan's engagement is in the nether domain or the infernal domain. The other is that there isn't a 3 live stone, but a man who truly has a marriage vow with Mayan is still alive. Thinking of this possibility, Di Ming Ju can't stop a murderous intent from welling up in his heart. He also refuses to accept this possibility, and the only way to confirm it is to find Mayan's biological father. Di Ming Ju fiercely squeezes Mayan's small hand in his palm, coldly saying, "Xing Lang, go investigate this person's background." There's clearly no one around, but when he gives the order, Xing Lang's stern voice immediately comes from the void. "As you bid, Jun Shang." Di Ming Ju coldly looks at the unconscious Ning Su, but in the end, he doesn't make a move. Instead, he turns his gaze to Luo Yunxiao. The 2 people's gazes meet in the air. Luo Yunxiao's complexion is a little pale, her expression calm and without ripples, but there's a trace of desolate despair in her eyes. Di Ming Ju's pupils slightly contract. Just now, when he saved Yin Yan by a hair's breadth, he felt that energy fluctuation. "It can't be wrong. You're from the nether domain?" Luo Yunxiao slowly nods. Di Ming Ju frowns, his gaze sharp. "The power surging in your body originates from the nether's sacred flame. You're of the nether domain's royal bloodline. But why has Ben Jun never heard of you among Yin Wuji's descendants? What is your purpose in appearing in the Xiaoxin continent and approaching Mayan?" Luo Yunxiao lowers her eyes, hoarsely saying, "From now on, I will leave the Xiaoxin continent and will never appear in front of her, in front of them. You can rest assured." "Young master? Young master, are you joking?" Even Mayan looks up at Di Ming Ju in shock, then looks at Luo Yunxiao. Did something happen that she didn't know about? Di Ming Ju caresses her cheek to comfort her. Then, he looks at Luo Yunxiao and says with a sneer, "What does it have to do with me, whether you leave the Xiaoxin continent or not? Could it be that Ben Jun will still worry about you, snatching people from me? Not to mention the fact that you're only Yin Wuji's son. Even if Yin Wuji personally came here and dared to plot against us, this lord would still make him crawl back." Luo Yunxiao jerks her head up, looking at Di Ming Ju in disbelief. The polar domain sovereign emperor's words were unpleasant to hear, but the meaning in his words was clear. He could stay on the cultivation continent, stay in the carefree sect, stay in Luo. You rushed over and pulled Luo Yunxiao's sleeve. "Little Uncle Master, why are you leaving? If you leave, Little Seven will cry for you." "That's right, young martial uncle. We don't care about the nether domain or the devil race. Anyway, we only recognize you as our junior martial uncle. As long as it's a man who gets close to junior sister, Instructor Mo will be jealous." His words weren't directed at you, so don't take it seriously. We're used to it. I was also almost killed by Instructor Mo's gaze. Not to mention you, even this old lady, a girl, was almost drowned in Instructor Mo's sea of jealousy when I hugged my junior sister. Listening to the chatter of her fellow apprentices, urging Luo Yunxiao to stay, and ridiculing Di Ming Ju's words, Mayan couldn't help but burst into laughter. It's time to repay the debt. As he starts to have the confidence to ask everyone for votes. It's the beginning of the month, so don't hide the guaranteed monthly votes, moi. Chapter 2664. We are used to Instructor Mo's jealousy. Wait a minute, June Shangdaran is being widowed like this? But Muyin also knows that this time, she was really too risky, too impulsive. When the demon-slaying sword attacked for the third time, she had nowhere to run. However, with his divine sense, he could clearly sense that his fellow disciples of the Xiaoyao sect were willing to disregard everything and even sacrifice their lives to save him. What made Mu Yin even more apprehensive was the junior martial uncle behind her. That faintly discernible and terrifying aura made her feel fear and unease. Mu Yin had a premonition that if he allowed this energy to completely erupt, it would definitely cause very bad consequences. The consequences were not something that anyone could bear. Fortunately, Di Ming Ju came. Mu Yin reaches out and hugs the man, buries her face in his chest, and says in a muffled voice, "I'm sorry, I made you worry. And thank you." Di Ming Ju snorts coldly, but doesn't say anything. "Don't think that Ben Jun will let you off just like this." Mayan raises her head, her eyebrows are curved, her eyes like autumn waters. "Thank you for always being by my side. It must be because God saw that my previous life was too hard, so he sent you to my side in this life." She was telling the truth. Mayan thinks that perhaps God really felt that her previous life was too bitter, so he helped her keep Xiao Bao, and even let her meet Di Ming Ju. If it was said that all the hardships and tribulations she had experienced in her previous life were all for this reunion in this life, then there was no longer any resentment in her heart, only sincere gratitude. She is grateful that she was fortunate enough to meet Di Ming Ju in this life, to know and love each other. She is grateful that the bitterness of the past life has been exchanged for the sweetness of this life. Sweet words directly hit the heart. Jun Shangdaran can no longer remain aloof. He only feels the blood in his entire body boiling. If there weren't so many eyesores surrounding them, he would have kissed the girl in his arms and rubbed her into his bones and blood. At this time, Yin Ruhan and the others also come back to their senses. Seeing Di Ming Ju embracing Mayan, each and every one of them feels that they've escaped from death, overjoyed. They surrounded him excitedly. "Minor Mo, why are you here?" "Fortunately, Instructor Mo, you came in time. You really scared us to death just now. What's wrong with this young master suicide?" After being defeated by Junior Marshal Uncle, he started to go crazy and actually wanted to kill Junior Marshal's sister. Di Ming Ju's gaze turned cold as he looked at the unconscious Ning Su. His hair was a mess and his face was pale. Unbeknownst to him, the skin all over his body had split open inch by inch, and fresh blood gushed out from the cracks. Before long, he felt as if he was soaking in a pool of blood. Seeing Di Ming Ju raise his hand, Mayan promptly stops him. "Wait a minute, Di Ming Ju, don't kill him yet." He sees Di Ming Ju looking over with an unfriendly expression. She hesitated for a moment, then said in a low voice, "I think that Ning Su or the Ning family might have something to do with me." Di Ming Ju frowns. "Mu Yin, don't you think that Ning Su's facial features are somewhat similar to mine?" Di Ming Ju looked at the unconscious Ning Su with a face full of disgust. "Similar my ass. Does this trash have the qualifications to look like his Yin Yin?" Mu Yin immediately understands the man's expression and can't help but laugh for a moment. Ning Su's obsession was obviously too deep, and he went berserk. He mistook me and Junior Marshal Uncle for someone else, and didn't intentionally hurt me. She gently scratches Di Ming Ju's palm with her finger, lowering her voice and saying, "What's more, if Big Brother Ning really has something to do with my past, perhaps I can follow the clues and find my biological father." You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.